Chapter 5487. A Genius in 1 Second Remembers Love. This is a wonderful novel for you to read. Boss Lin Yi, this Chu Hengding is my new little brother. He's here to help me control the Chu family. After he becomes the family head, all of the Chu family's resources will be mine to use. Xue Jianfeng gritted his teeth, but he could only play along with Lin Yi's questions. He couldn't say the name of the core. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't intend to expose him, Xue Jianfeng was quite satisfied. Lin Yi shrugged. Chu Hengding, do you have anything else to say? Or are you prepared to disregard Xue Jianfeng as your boss? Chu Hengding's face flushed red. No matter how cunning he was and how thick-skinned he was, he didn't dare to refute Xue Jianfeng's words. However, Chu Hengding had long since cursed Xue Jianfeng in his heart. He also cursed all of Xue Jianfeng's direct female relatives. It's very clear. Chu Hengding is a traitor to the Chu family. No objections? Lin Yi shrugged and looked at Chu Yuntian. Chu Yuntian had nothing to say. Chu Hengding was the one who had forced him to abdicate, but Chu Hengding was still Chu Yuntian's son, and a nascent soul cultivator at that. Together with Chu Yuntian himself, it was enough for the Chu clan to rise again. Lin Yi didn't care what Chu Yuntian was thinking. He pulled Chu Tianlu over. From today onwards, Chu Hengding's position as the head of the house is gone. Old Chu, since you're already the grand elder, you don't have to work too hard. Let Chu Tianlu be the young head of the house, and he'll take over everything. With Chu Tianlu's strength, being the family head wasn't enough to convince everyone. Being the young family head didn't matter. In any case, the authority was in Chu Tianlu's hands. Titles weren't important. Chu Hengding saw that his years of painstaking planning was going to waste. He immediately roared in agitation, "I don't agree. Chu Tianlu can't be the young family head. Even if I can't be the family head, there's still Tianhao. Let Tianhao marry Yiling Sex Duanmuyu, and he can be the young family head." Before he could finish, Chu Hengding also collapsed on his back. He was lying shoulder to shoulder with Yu Taitsong. Who else disagrees? Lin Yi's cold gaze swept across the Chu clan. Everyone, including Chu Yuntian, could not help but shiver. At this time, if they still could not see that Yu Taitsong's death was caused by Lin Yi, then they might as well just die. The only question was that Lin Yi didn't even move his fingers. How did he deal with a master at the peak of the Yuanying stage and an early Yuanying stage? Fear comes from the unknown, because no one knew what Lin Yi was capable of. They were even more in awe of Lin Yi. In the face of Lin Yi's overbearing question, no one dared to speak. Xue Jianfeng secretly rejoiced in his heart. Luckily, he saw the opportunity early. Otherwise, he would have been the one lying on the ground. This brat, Lin Yi, is indeed not an existence that this young master can provoke right now. I can only plot against him in secret, and not confront him head-on. Senior Lin, Junior's strength is too low. Amidst everyone's silence, only Chu Tianlu stammered, "Why don't Junior's grandfather be the family head? Senior Lin, please take back that Yuanying stage sea crab's inner core. As for our Chu clan's pill recipes, Junior will give them all to Senior Lin." Hearing Chu Tianlu say this, Chu Yuntian's mood suddenly became a bit better. No matter what was said, Chu Tianlu was still his grandson. Regardless of whether Chu Tianlu's words were sincere or not, Chu Yuntian remembered them in his heart. What an honest child! Lin Yi swept his gaze over Chu Tianlu indifferently, then ignored him. He continued speaking to the Chu clan. Chu Tianlu will be the Chu clan's young family head and take charge of the Chu clan's affairs. Who agrees? Who objects? It wasn't a question, but rather a certainty that forced the Chu clan to immediately make a choice. As for how to choose, Chu Hengding, who was lying on the ground, clearly didn't have any allies. Duan Mu Yu watched as Lin Yi stood so casually in the hall, yet his body was filled with an unquestionable might. He immediately felt that the current Lin Yi, compared to before, was even more outstanding. I agree. Boss Lin Yi's decision is truly too wise. Unexpectedly, as soon as Lin Yi finished speaking, the first to jump out in agreement was actually Xue Jianfeng. Chu Yuntian suspected that this fellow had knelt for too long and was taking the opportunity to jump up and move around a bit. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows and said impatiently, "What does this have to do with you?" "Of course it has to do with me. At such an important moment, how can I not cheer for Boss Lin Yi?" Xue Jianfeng rubbed his hands together and smiled flatteringly. It was rare for him to be so reckless. "Hey, did you not hear Boss Lin Yi's order? Young Master Chu Tianlu is such a suitable candidate. Does your Chu clan have any objections?" Xue Jianfeng turned around. His flattering smile immediately disappeared without a trace, replaced by a fierce and threatening expression. His great circle, nascent soul aura also pressed over. "This old man agrees." Chu Yuntian sighed softly and nodded in agreement. Then Chu Yunting, the great elder, also agreed. With the two big shots of the Chu clan agreeing, this matter was settled. In truth, Chu Yuntian wasn't pressured by Xue Jianfeng. Rather, he felt that it wasn't too bad to have Chu Tianlu as young master. At the very least, Chu Tianlu had Lin Yi's support. Putting aside Lin Yi's strength, just the Azure Cloud School behind him was a considerable help. Xue Jianfeng turned around and put on a smiling face. "Boss Lin Yi, look, this is young Master Chu's big day. Leaving two dead people here is too much of a wet blanket. Let me handle them first, then come back to congratulate young Master Chu." Without waiting for Lin Yi's reply, Xue Jianfeng picked up Yu Taitsong from the ground and gave Chu Tianhao a meaningful glance, indicating for him to quickly carry his father's corpse. Chu Tianhao had long been scared out of his wits by the series of changes. He didn't know how to react. When he saw Xue Jianfeng's glance, he was originally muddle-headed and didn't know what to do. Suddenly, he had an idea. Imitating Xue Jianfeng, he lowered his head and picked up Chu Hengding, then turned around and walked out. Lin Yi clearly saw through Xue Jianfeng's careful thoughts, but he didn't intend to stop him. Xue Jianfeng wasn't a worry. Leaving him alive would make it easier to deal with the core. At least with Xue Jianfeng around, Lin Yi wasn't afraid of not being able to find clues about the core. "Boss Lin Yi, do we need to chase after him?" Bing Wuqing asked in a low voice. Although it seemed that Lin Yi was letting Xue Jianfeng go, he didn't say anything after all. Bing Wuqing still had to ask. Chapter 5488. Genius 1 second. Remember, if you want to go, Shua Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Yu Taitsong and Chu Hengding's primordial spirits were restrained by Lin Yi's soul-hooking hand. If Xue Jianfeng hadn't taken them away, perhaps Lin Yi could have released their primordial spirits. But now, even if Lin Yi released his primordial spirits without a physical body nearby, it would be useless. Love, go small, say Netku without a soul. A physical body would soon truly die. This was different from Lin Yi's main body. He used his soul projection method, which was fundamentally different from forceful imprisonment. Otherwise, Lin Yi's physical body on Heaven Stage Island would have already died. He turned his head to look at everyone in the Chu family and said, "Since all of you have agreed to let Chu Tianlu be the young patriarch, then everything in the Chu family will be decided by him in the future. Is that all right?" Of course, there was nothing wrong with the Chu clan. Even if there was something wrong with them, they wouldn't dare say it out loud. Even though Lin Yi hadn't revealed any bloody and brutal methods, the pressure he exuded was even stronger than before. By now, Even if Chu Tianlu didn't want to, he had no choice. However, as if this one-track-minded guy had suddenly been enlightened, he cupped his fists at Lin Yi and said, "Boss Lin, please accept me as your little brother. Otherwise, I won't dare to take over as the Chu family's young patriarch." Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. "Are you threatening me?" Chu Tianlu immediately jumped in fright. He immediately waved his hand and said, "How is that possible? How would I dare? Since senior feels that this junior is unworthy, then forget it." Lin Yi pondered for a moment and said, "Forget it. It's quite annoying to always listen to seniors and juniors. I'll take you in as my little brother." In any case, Lin Yi had a lot of underlings. It wouldn't make a difference if he lost one. Moreover, Lin Yi didn't dislike Chu Tianlu. Previously, he had thought of accepting this underling. Since Chu Tianlu had brought it up himself, he'd just go with the flow and agree. Chu Tianlu was overjoyed. He cupped his fist again and said, "Thank you very much, Boss Lin Yi." Chu Yuntian was actually very happy about Chu Tianlu's sudden move. Having Chu Tianlu acknowledge Lin Yi as his boss was clearly in line with the Chu clan's interests. No matter what, it couldn't be considered a bad thing. Lin Yi pointed at Bing Wuqing and said, "Don't call her Senior Bing anymore. Just call her Brother Bing or Brother Wuqing." Chu Tianlu hurriedly called out respectfully, "Brother Wuqing, you have a good eye." Bing Wuqing didn't have a smile on her face. She only spoke coolly and ignored Chu Tianlu. Lin Yi turned to look at Duan Muyu and said to Chu Tianlu, "That's Duan Muyu from Yiling sect." Chu Tianlu understood tacitly and immediately went forward to greet her with a smile. He said, "Sister-in-law, I didn't know about your situation before. Now that I know, the marriage alliance between the Chu clan and Yiling sect will be annulled. I hope that our Chu clan and Yiling sect will still be allies in the future." Duan Muyu was stunned at first, and then her face turned slightly red. She stole a glance at Lin Yi. Speaking of Chu Tianlu's big brother, other than this one whom she had just acknowledged, there was no one else, right? Lin Yi thought to himself that this fellow was a little too straightforward, but he actually had some brains. At least he had some sense in handling this matter. Love, go, little, say, Netka, however. While Duan Muyu understood, Chu Yuntian didn't. He had been wholeheartedly plotting to unite the Chu clan and Yiling sect through marriage in order to achieve the Chu clan's rise. How could he let Chu Tianlu cancel it just like that? "No, I don't agree. Tianlu, what nonsense are you talking about? Sect Master Yi, you mustn't listen to him. The marriage alliance between the Chu clan and Yiling sect must go through." Chu Yuntian didn't understand. The sister-in-law that Chu Tianlu spoke of was relative to Lin Yi. He was even curious as to where Chu Tianlu, the eldest young master of the Chu clan, had come from. Could it be an illegitimate child of Chu Tianlu's deceased father? It had to be said that this old man Chu Yuntian's imagination was quite wild. Fortunately, Chu Tianlu didn't know what he was thinking. Otherwise, he would really go to his father's grave and kowtow to apologize. This old man had been implicated. Chu Tianlu sternly said, "Grandfather, I'm serious. The marriage alliance between the Chu clan and Yiling sect must be annulled. There's absolutely no possibility of it continuing." "Nonsense. This is a great opportunity for our Chu clan to rise. I definitely won't allow you to ruin this opportunity." Chu Yuntian was burning with rage as he loudly berated Chu Tianlu. "Grandfather, I'm in charge of the Chu clan's matters now." Chu Tianlu glanced at Lin Yi. Although he didn't want to contradict Chu Yuntian, he had no choice but to continue acting tough. Chu Yuntian's hair and beard stood on end. He shook his head and said, No matter what, the marriage alliance cannot be stopped. Although your second uncle's heart isn't in the right place, he was still a nascent soul cultivator of our Chu clan. Yet he died because of you. Now, you're rejecting the marriage alliance with Yi Ling's sect. Do you really want to destroy the Chu clan and watch as the Chu clan declines? Chu Tianlu smiled bitterly. He approached Chu Yuntian and said in an extremely low voice, "Grandfather, if I continue the marriage alliance with Yi Ling's sect, I'll really be destroying the Chu clan. Not only the Chu clan, but Yi Ling's sect will probably be doomed as well." Chu Yuntian immediately quivered, and his mind became completely clear. It was very obvious that Chu Tianlu's elder brother was definitely not some damned illegitimate elder brother. Instead, it was Lin Yi who was standing to the side and looking at Chu Yuntian with a faint smile. When he thought about how Lin Yi had specifically pointed out Yi Ling's sect's Duan Muyu, Chu Yuntian immediately cursed himself in his heart for being muddle-headed. It was such an obvious hint, yet even a silly kid like Tianlu understood it. Why was he the one who was confused instead? After thinking it through, Chu Yuntian immediately said to Chu Tianlu sternly, "Child, why won't you listen? It's imperative that the Chu clan and Yi Ling's sect form an alliance through marriage. However, you're definitely not worthy of a genius like Miss Duanmu. I think only your eldest brother, Senior Lin, is the most suitable candidate." Huh. Chu Tianlu was dumbfounded. After all, he was an honest child. He really couldn't understand Chu Yuntian's shamelessness. "But grandfather, eldest brother Lin Yi isn't a member of our Chu clan." Chu Yuntian had been waiting for this sentence. He immediately said righteously, "How is he not a member of our Chu clan? Since you've acknowledged him as your eldest brother, he's naturally the eldest brother of our Chu clan. Isn't it normal for him to represent our Chu clan with full authority? Is that even possible?" Chu Tianlu looked at Chu Yuntian in a daze, then turned to look at Lin Yi, hoping to get some hints from Lin Yi. Lin Yi coughed dryly and said plainly, "I won't interfere in your Chu clan's matters." Chu Yuntian secretly despised him. He thought to himself, "Why didn't you say earlier that you wouldn't interfere in the Chu clan's matters? Now you're putting on an act." But since Lin Yi had put it that way, Chu Yuntian had no choice but to go with the flow. Since Senior Lin doesn't represent House Chu's intentions, then it's a shame that the marriage proposal between House Chu and Yi Ling's sect is terminated. School Beauty's bodyguard was released. Please add Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and WeChat official Urine22. All kinds of latest news, autograph books, and events are being sent non-stop. Chapter 54, 89. Genius in a Second, Remember to Go? To provide you with exciting novels to read. Yi Qingcheng didn't have any objections. When he heard what Chu Yuntian said, he immediately agreed. Our Yi Ling sect has no objections. Although the Chu family and Yi Ling sect aren't connected by marriage, the alliance between our two sects won't change. We still need to continue supporting each other in the future. It had to be said that Yi Qingcheng's mind worked very quickly, and he saw things very clearly. Since Duan Muyu and Lin Yi had an ambiguous relationship, and Lin Yi was such a powerful existence, Yi Ling's sect might as well be tied to Lin Yi's chariot instead of being connected by marriage with the Chu family. As for the Chu family, they were the ones who proposed to cancel the marriage anyway. Yi Ling's sect didn't owe them anything, but it was necessary to continue maintaining their relationship. After all, they were the family of Lin Yi's little brother. With this relationship, the Chu family would rise sooner or later. Sect leader Yi is so righteous. We must get closer from now on. Chu Yuntian laughed loudly. No one knew if he was really that happy. Yi Qingcheng and Chu Yuntian flattered each other for a while, and the atmosphere was joyous and harmonious. Only Lin Yi and Bing Wuqing were cold and didn't seem to have any intention of joining in. Slowly, the two of them stopped, feeling a little awkward. After ending the meaningless conversation with Chu Yuntian, Yi Qingcheng said in a voice that only Duanmu Yu could hear, "Xiao Yu, why didn't you tell the sect that you and Lin Yi are so close? If we knew that the two of you had such a relationship, why would our Yiling sect need to arrange a marriage with the Chu family? With the support of Lin Yi? No, Elder Lin, it would be a piece of cake for our Yiling sect to regain our former glory." Duanmu Yu blushed slightly. "No, sect leader, I was just an ordinary friend with Lin Yi in the past. We were like brothers. Perhaps we were closer than brothers, but it's not what you think. That's enough. You're really muddle-headed." Yi Qingcheng looked at Duanmu Yu with an exasperated expression, but there was no blame in his tone. Instead, he was like a doting parent. "Since you have such a good relationship with Elder Lin, you should make good use of it. As long as Elder Lin can help you reach nascent soul, the status of our Yiling sect can be preserved. We don't need to talk about other developments in the future." Duanmu Yu didn't respond. She naturally knew how powerful Lin Yi was. What she didn't know was that Lin Yi was so powerful that a top expert at perfected nascent soul stage couldn't even last one move against Lin Yi. The key was that no one could see what was going on with this move. Duanmu Yu was quite clear about what Yi Qingcheng said and his plan just now, but she instinctively resisted it. Being able to improve one's strength was the dream of every cultivator. However, Duanmu Yu didn't want to rely on her relationship with Lin Yi to ask Lin Yi to help her improve her strength. This made Duanmu Yu feel that she was using Lin Yi. She felt very uncomfortable no matter how she thought about it. Yi Qingcheng didn't know what Duanmu Yu was thinking. He continued to say in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Xiao Yu, you will find an opportunity to follow Lin Yi in the future. With his ability, it will definitely not be a problem to help you improve to the nascent soul stage." "Sect Master, why are you so sure that if I follow Lin Yi, he will definitely help me to improve to the nascent soul stage? Do you think that by following Lin Yi, the speed of cultivation will increase a lot?" Duanmu Yu looked at Yi Qingcheng with some confusion. Lin Yi had helped her break through the foundation establishment stage and advance to the gold core stage, but that was only because of the medicinal pills in Lin Yi's hands. Needless to say, the medicinal pills were precious. Duanmu Yu didn't think that Lin Yi had enough medicinal pills to help her break through to the nascent soul stage. Yi Qingcheng smiled mysteriously and said, "If it was someone else, they might think the same as you and think that their cultivation speed will be faster by Senior Lin's side. However, I am sure that Senior Lin definitely has a way to quickly improve the strength of others. After the last incident, I specially went to inquire about it." "What did you inquire about? Is it about Lin Yi?" Duanmu Yu wasn't too surprised. After all, Lin Yi had caused quite a commotion in Yiling's sect last time. It wasn't strange for Yi Qingcheng to inquire about it afterwards. "It's not really asking about Senior Lin." Yi Qingcheng glanced at Lin Yi guiltily. If Lin Yi heard that he had asked about him behind his back, who knew what the consequences would be? Fortunately, Lin Yi was talking to the people of the Chu family and didn't seem to notice them. Moreover, Yi Qingcheng believed that he and Duanmu Yu's voices were soft enough, so it shouldn't attract Lin Yi's attention. "Actually, I went to inquire about the Snow Sword sect and found some strange things." Yi Qingcheng turned around and continued to explain in a low voice, "Because Xue Jianfeng wanted to dip his fingers into our Yiling sect, I specially went to investigate the Snow Sword sect. I found that the Snow Sword sect suddenly had 3 nascent soul old monsters. Among them, the strangest one is Xue Jianfeng." Duanmu Yu nodded. She was the clearest about Xue Jianfeng's previous strength. After all, they had gone to the secular world together for training. In just a few months, he went from a disciple with potential at the foundation establishment stage to a top-notch expert at the nascent soul-perfected stage. In the words of the secular world, this speed was like riding a rocket. Saying that he was strange was already an understatement. I'm not sure what kind of fortuitous encounter Xue Jianfeng had. However, apart from this strange Xue Jianfeng, there was another person who suddenly attained the nascent soul realm, and that was Bing Wuqing. At this point, Yi Qingcheng could not help but sneak a glance at Bing Wuqing. His eyes were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Although Bing Wuqing had always been known as a genius, she had always been a genius at the early golden elixir stage. There was still a considerable gap between her and Yi Qingcheng. However, Bing Wuqing had now become an expert at the peak of the early nascent soul realm. She had directly become someone that Yi Qingcheng had to look up to. The world was truly unpredictable. Let's not talk about Xue Jianfeng. However, I dare to conclude that Bing Wuqing's improvement definitely has something to do with Senior Lin Yi. Otherwise, no matter how much of a genius Bing Wuqing is, and how shocking her cultivation speed is, she would at most be at the mid-golden elixir stage. She would not even be able to defeat me, let alone Yu Taizong, who is at the nascent soul-perfected stage. That's why I say that if you follow Lin Yi, you will definitely be able to attain the nascent soul realm quickly. Yi Qingcheng finally finished explaining. If possible, he would rather follow Lin Yi himself in exchange for a chance to attain the nascent soul realm. The mobile game, Schoolbell's Bodyguard, is hot. Please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and WeChat official Urine22 for the latest news, autograph books, and activities. Chapter 5490. Unfortunately, Lin Yi obviously didn't like Yi Qingcheng, unless he was really a beautiful woman. Moreover, he was clearly too old to be his little brother. He even regretted not using the everlasting face technique to stop his appearance at the moment he broke through to the heaven stage in order to become the head of the sect. Now, if he followed behind Lin Yi and went out saying that he was Lin Yi's little brother, wouldn't it scare people to death? It wouldn't be harmonious either. On the other side, Lin Yi's instructions to Chu Tianlu were more or less complete. Lin Yi didn't take back the crab's inner core, but still gave it to Chu Tianlu, asking him to settle the Chu clan's affairs first. Chu Tianlu couldn't refuse, and could only accept the crab's inner core. He promised to deliver the Chu clan's pill recipe to Lin Yi as soon as possible, whether it was to complete the transaction of the inner core or as a little brother's filial piety to the boss. These were all necessary. Lin Yi didn't act pretentious. After nodding in agreement, he turned around and walked towards Duan Muyu. Although Yi Qingcheng and Duan Muyu spoke softly, with the characteristics of Lin Yi's primordial spirit, as long as he was willing, the entire Chu clan was under the surveillance of his divine sense. Therefore, even if Lin Yi didn't deliberately listen to their conversation, he could still clearly understand every word they said. Duan Muyu, let them handle the matters here. I have something to talk to you about. Lin Yi looked at Duan Muyu with a slightly awkward expression. After all, their relationship hadn't been so obvious before. Duan Muyu didn't expect that Lin Yi would suddenly look for him. He immediately blushed and his heart raced. He lowered his head slightly, thinking of what to do, at a loss. Yi Qingcheng was overjoyed. This was a good opportunity. Seeing that Duan Muyu was still a little hesitant, he hurriedly pushed Duan Muyu's arm and said, "Since Senior Lin is looking for you, you should go with him. This place is too messy, and it's not a good place to talk. Young Master Chu, do you think we should arrange a quiet room for Senior Lin and the others to talk?" Yi Qingqing's last sentence was completely directed at Chu Tianlu. He was afraid that this rash young Master Chu wouldn't understand, so he didn't even try to be subtle. He was just short of directly saying that he wanted to send Lin Yi and Duan Muyu to the bridal room. Duan Muyu's face turned redder. She was originally a straightforward woman. Just as she said, she and Lin Yi were like brothers at first, but she didn't know when she didn't want to continue being Lin Yi's brother. Lin Yi was also a little embarrassed, but he didn't show it on his face. He still said calmly, "Thank you for your concern, sect leader Yi. There's no need to trouble Heaven's road. He needs to deal with the things here. Duan Muyu, and I will leave first." "Not at all, not at all. Senior Lin, please go ahead. You guys take your time to chat." Seeing that Lin Yi was so polite, Yi Qingqing was extremely happy. He thought that his decision was very wise. It seemed that there was hope for the revival of the Yiling sect. Lin Yi didn't say anything more. He called Duan Muyu out of the hall. Not far from the hall, there was a study used for receiving guests. Although Lin Yi had never been there, he had already identified this place with his divine sense. The two entered the study. They were very satisfied with the elegant and quiet layout. Duan Muyu didn't speak to Lin Yi. She sat down gracefully by the tea table and began to boil water in a familiar manner. She prepared to make tea for Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't stand on ceremony. He sat down quietly opposite Duan Muyu and admired her smooth and elegant movements. After a while, the water boiled. Duan Muyu washed the tea and poured a cup of water for Lin Yi. She placed it in front of Lin Yi. The faint fragrance of the tea spread out slowly, making Lin Yi feel refreshed. In terms of the tea ceremony, Lin Yi believed that he couldn't compare to Duan Muyu. When Lin Yi picked up the tea and smelled the fragrance, Duan Muyu gathered her long dress, got up, and walked to the side. She sat down in front of the zither table. She raised her arm gently, and her fingers danced. The tinkling sound of the zither was like pearls falling on a jade plate, or like a clear spring in a valley quietly flowing in the study. Although she didn't say a word, Lin Yi naturally knew that this was Duan Muyu's way of expressing her feelings to him again. Unfortunately, Lin Yi really didn't have much research in this area. Such an elegant thing was used on Lin Yi. It was really not wrong to say that she was playing the lute to a cow, listening to the clear and melodious sound of the zither. Lin Yi was thinking about how to improve Duan Muyu's strength. Now, Duan Muyu was only at the peak of the early Jiedan stage. If she wanted to reach the Yuanying stage, she needed at least 5 to 6 golden elixirs and 1 Yuanying golden elixirs. Yuanying golden elixirs were not a problem. Lin Yi still had a lot of them, but the golden elixirs were almost used up. Before, Lin Yi also had a lot of golden elixirs in his hands, but the strength level of the ancient small Jianghu was too low, and the consumption of golden elixirs was relatively fast. Lin Yi didn't care about this kind of elixir, so now it was a little difficult to improve Duan Muyu's strength all at once. On the Heaven Stage Island, the golden elixirs were no longer of much use to Lin Yi. At most, he could refine some for sale, so he already had all the stock with him. If he wanted to refine more, there were auxiliary elixirs, but the main materials might not be found in a short time. With Duan Muyu's strength, if he directly took the Yuanying golden elixirs, he would definitely explode and die. So this matter, Lin Yi still had to think about it carefully. Duan Muyu's zither sound was soothing and melodious, which made people feel relaxed. However, Lin Yi was thinking about improving Duan Muyu's level and could not appreciate the essence of it at all. Without enough golden elixirs, Lin Yi couldn't quickly improve Duan Muyu's level. And not only Duan Muyu, Lin Yi was also extremely worried after seeing the strength of Xue Jianfeng and Yu Taicang. In a short period of time, the center was already able to produce masters of the Yuanying great perfection in batches. Even if Xue Jianfeng who was forcibly promoted to the Yuanine Great Perfection, was weaker than the ordinary Yuanine Great Perfection, but they had many people. In the face of the aggressive development speed of the center, Lin Yi clearly felt the pressure on him. So improving Duan Muyu's strength was only the first step. In the future, he must cultivate enough masters to fight against the increasingly powerful center. If he could go back to the Heaven Stage Island, refining the golden elixirs would not be a problem at all, but it would be meaningless to refine them after going back. What's more, it was uncertain whether he could carry out the second primordial spirit projection in a short time, so he naturally couldn't go back. The only way was to find a way to refine the golden elixirs here. Chapter 54, 91. Lin Yi, what's wrong with you? Do you think my zither playing is too clumsy? Duan Muyu couldn't help but feel a little nervous. She wanted to show off in front of Lin Yi. It would be bad if she made a fool of herself. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. How is that possible? Your level of zither playing is quite high. I'm just thinking about something. Duan Muyu's heart moved, and she thought to herself, is he thinking about the matter between us? If this is the case, what does Lin Yi mean by frowning? For a moment, Duan Muyu suddenly became a little worried. She guessed that Lin Yi didn't have any feelings for her. Lin Yi didn't know that Duan Muyu's heart was full of knots at this moment. After thinking for a while, he took out the last 2 golden cores and handed them to Duan Muyu. I only have these 2 golden cores here. If you want to promote to the nascent soul stage, you still need a few more. But it doesn't matter. You can use these 2 to improve your strength first. I will think of a way in the future. It turns out that you are thinking about helping me improve my strength. Duan Muyu felt a little sweet in her heart. She immediately took the 2 golden cores, and she didn't mean to be polite to Lin Yi at all. It was not the first time that Lin Yi helped Duan Muyu improve her strength, and Duan Muyu felt that if she was polite to Lin Yi, it would make the 2 of them estranged. It was good now. You can start now. I will guard you. Before Lin Yi finished speaking, he found that Duan Muyu had already taken a golden core, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Lin Yi shook his head with a smile and said nothing more. He also sat down at the tea table, guarding Duan Muyu while refining the spiritual knowledge fruit that he had swallowed before. In the past few days, Lin Yi had eaten 2 spiritual knowledge fruits, so he had a great understanding of the medicinal properties of the spiritual knowledge fruit. Generally speaking, it doesn't matter if you don't deliberately refine the spiritual knowledge fruit, because its gentle medicinal properties could slowly nourish the spirit for a long time, allowing the spirit to gradually improve. Of course, after taking the spiritual knowledge fruit, if you actively refine it, the medicinal effect would take effect faster. Because of this, Lin Yi ate a spiritual knowledge fruit in public without any scruples. The tumor of the spiritual knowledge fruit was also a time bomb for Lin Yi, but after taking the spiritual knowledge fruit, the tumor of the spiritual knowledge fruit could not be removed immediately. Only by completely refining a spiritual knowledge fruit could one completely remove the tumor of the spiritual knowledge fruit. The 2 were not far from each other, and they both entered a state of cultivation. However, while Lin Yi was refining the spiritual knowledge fruit, he still paid close attention to Duan Muyu's situation. Fortunately, Duan Muyu's promotion was quite smooth. After all, Lin Yi's golden core was of the best quality. Not to mention a genius like Duan Muyu. As long as it was someone with a decent aptitude, it would be a matter of course for them to improve their cultivation. After breaking through to the middle stage of the Jiedan stage, Duan Muyu did not stop cultivating. He did not even stabilize his strength. He directly took the second golden core and rushed to the peak of the middle stage of the Jiedan stage in one go. Lin Yi refined the spiritual knowledge fruit step by step to remove the tumor of the spiritual knowledge fruit. This process was much slower than Duan Muyu's promotion, so Lin Yi was not in a hurry. Anyway, Even if the medicinal properties of the spiritual knowledge fruit were not refined in one go, it did not matter much. It was just a matter of time. After dawn the next day, Duan Muyu finally completed his cultivation and stabilized his strength at the peak of the middle stage of the Jiedan stage. Lin Yi also suspended the progress of removing the tumor of the spiritual knowledge fruit. Lin Yi, thank you. Duan Muyu got up excitedly. Although he felt that saying thank you would seem a little distant, he still thanked Lin Yi sincerely. Lin Yi waved his hand and said with a smile, "What are you thanking me for? It's just 2 medicinal pills. You were able to break through so smoothly, mostly because of your superior talent. If it were an ordinary person, even with medicinal pills, they may not be able to break through one level without spending 10 days. No way, Duan Muyu whispered with a blush on her pretty face. Being able to get Lin Yi's praise seemed to make her happier than advancing 2 levels in a row. Lin Yi was not interested in talking about this topic. Chu Tianlu had arrived outside the study early in the morning, but he did not disturb Lin Yi. Instead, he waited quietly at the door. Obviously, he knew that Lin Yi would know that he appeared at the door. If it was convenient, Lin Yi would let him in. Previously, Duan Muyu had not finished cultivating, so Lin Yi asked him to wait outside. Now that everything was fine, he naturally let Chu Tianlu in to talk. "Tianlu, come in." Lin Yi greeted him and casually sat on the chair beside the desk. Hearing Lin Yi's call, Chu Tianlu immediately pushed the door open and came in. He first bowed respectfully and said, "Boss Lin Yi, sister-in-law, Duan Muyu, breakfast is ready. May I know if you want to send it here or go to the dining hall to eat?" Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "Let's go to the dining hall to eat later. There's no need to trouble yourself. You came to deliver the medicinal pills, right?" "Yes, Boss Lin Yi. Here are some medicinal pills collected by our Chu family, as well as Chu Tianliang's alchemy manual. I thought that maybe Boss Lin Yi would be a little interested, so I brought them together." Chu Tianlu took out a stack of parchment paper from his arms and handed it to Lin Yi. There was also a small book on it. It should be Chu Tianliang's alchemy manual. Lin Yi first looked at the medicinal pills. In addition to those medicinal pills, such as Recover Pill, there were medicinal pills for Foundation Establishment Pill, Golden Core Pill, and Yuaning Pill, but that was all. There were no medicinal pills, such as the Thunder Xian Pill. It was estimated that there might not be a medicinal pill of the Thunder Xian Pill in the entire ancient Jianghu. Otherwise, there would be cultivators of the mysterious ascension stage. As for the Foundation Establishment Pill, Golden Core Pill, and Yuaning Pill, in addition to the main material of the Seabeast Niden, the other auxiliary materials were also very different from the medicinal pills of the Heaven Step Island. Under Lin Yi's research, he suddenly felt his eyes lit up. The combination of this medicinal pill was completely a new idea. Lin Yi had never thought of it before. Of course, because Lin Yi had never thought that the sea beast's Niden could be used to refine a golden pill, he naturally would not have the idea of matching medicinal materials according to the sea beast's Niden. Although the medicinal materials of the medicinal pill were different, Lin Yi's current medicinal materials reserve was already quite rich, so he did not need to worry about the problem of these auxiliary materials. The only thing he needed to do was to capture the sea beast of the gold core stage. Chapter 5492. Lin Yi put away the pill recipe and opened Chu Tianliang's alchemy manual. However, as soon as he saw it, he immediately frowned. Divine Sense condensing pill fire? How could it be like this? Whether it was the common world or the sky-class island, Lin Yi had never heard of a spirit that could condense a refinement fire. He had always used pure qi to condense the refinement fire, but now all of his knowledge was completely overturned. "Boss, is there a problem?" Chu Tianlu had been paying attention to Lin Yi. Seeing Lin Yi frown, he thought that there was a problem with Chu Tianliang's alchemy manual, so he immediately asked. Lin waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. It's just that the things mentioned in this alchemy manual are a little different from what I've seen before, so I have some doubts." Chu Tianlu scratched his head and said, embarrassedly, "If that's the case, I really can't help you with anything. I really don't know anything about alchemy." "I know." Linny laughed and shook his head. He thought to himself, "I knew you don't know alchemy, and I didn't expect you to be able to help me with alchemy." However, what was the difference between condensing pill fire with divine sense and condensing pill fire with qi? Lin, he really couldn't figure it out. If there was a method to condense pill fire with divine sense in this alchemy manual, Lin, he wouldn't mind giving it a try, and then comparing it with qi to pill fire to understand. Unfortunately, there was no method to condense pill fire with divine sense in this manual, and it was only briefly mentioned. Chu Tianlu suddenly clapped his hands and said, "That's right, Boss Lin Yi. After my grandfather obtained the crab's core last night, he immediately contacted an alchemist to refine the core into a nascent soul golden core. I know that the alchemist isn't far from our Chu family. If he comes quickly, he might already be at our Chu family." "Oh, your grandfather moves quite quickly. He has already found an alchemist who can refine nascent soul golden core." It should be known that an alchemist who could refine a nascent soul golden pill was an existence above the 6th grade. Even on the Heaven Stage Island, it was not easy to find one. This Chu family could actually invite such a person in one night. It seemed that their network was really good. "Boss Lin, why don't we go and take a look? If this alchemist is already here, we should be able to consult him if we have any questions. Or we can just watch him concoct pills. Who knows, he might be able to answer your doubts." Chu Tianlu suggested rather excitedly. Being able to do something for Lin made Chu Tianlu extremely happy. Otherwise, he would feel that he owed Lin too much. Lin was very tempted after hearing this. This was really a good suggestion. If he could directly watch the high-level alchemists of the ancient small world concoct pills on the spot, it would be quite beneficial whether it was in terms of divine sense condensing alchemy fire or controlling this kind of alchemy fire to concoct pills. Since that's the case, let's go take a look. As Linny spoke, he stood up and suddenly asked, "When this alchemist is concocting pills, can others directly watch?" When Lin was concocting pills, he would never let others watch from the side, unless it was someone that Lin was very close and trusted. After all, the automatic alchemy furnace, such a heaven-defying artifact, could not be casually exposed in front of others. Putting himself in others' shoes, other alchemists might not be willing to let irrelevant people watch from the side when they were concocting pills. If they were careless and made a mistake in concocting pills, leading to the final failure of concocting pills, who would be responsible for this? After being asked by Lin Yi, Chu Tianlu also said with some hesitation, "This, I'm not very clear. I originally thought that there should be no problem, but boss, after what you said, I also feel that it doesn't seem that easy. But it doesn't matter. Even if we can't watch the concoction, at least we can ask some questions about concocting pills. These are all trivial matters. I think he will give face to our Chu family." "You're right, then let's go." Linny shrugged and was about to follow Chu Tianlu to see this alchemist, but after seeing that Duanmu Yu had already brewed a pot of tea, he changed his mind and said, "This matter is not very urgent. Tianlu, come and taste the tea made by Duanmu Yu. It is definitely not ordinary." Duanmu Yu smiled slightly and said, "Young Master Chu, don't listen to Lin Yi's nonsense. I'm just casually playing with it. Originally, it is not suitable to drink tea like this early in the morning, but we are all cultivators, so we don't have so many scruples. Sister-in-law, you are too polite. Just call me Tianlu, Don't call me young Master Chu. It makes people feel uncomfortable. Chu, Tianlu said with a smile. He picked up the teacup in front of him, blew on the hot air, then raised his head and drank it in one gulp. Then he praised loudly. Good tea. It's really good tea. Sister-in-law's craftsmanship is really good. Duanmu Yu's pretty face was slightly red, but she did not refute Chu Tianlu's addressing her as sister-in-law. Duanmu Yu was not only used to being addressed like this, but also enjoyed it. Lin, he said with a smile, I see that you are also a person who doesn't understand the tea ceremony. What can you taste if you gulp it down like a whale? Forget it. Let's go and see if the alchemist is here. After speaking, Lin Yi also picked up his own teacup and drank the clear tea inside. It was not a waste of Duanmu Yu's effort. Duanmu Yu was secretly amused. Lin Yi obviously did not have a deep understanding of the tea ceremony. He and Chu Tianlu were almost the same. They were indeed the boss and the little brother. After a simple cleaning up, the three of them walked towards the hall. The mess caused last night had been cleaned up overnight. Now the hall was restored to its previous tidiness. Even the blue bricks that had been broken by Xue Jianfeng's kowtow had been replaced. There was no trace of it left. Lin Yi had not arrived yet, but his divine sense had already scanned the hall. In the hall, Chu Yuntian was respectfully talking to an old man. This old man sat arrogantly in the seat of honor. Obviously, his status was quite high. He should be the alchemist invited by Chu Yuntian. It was not surprising that an alchemist who could refine nascent soul and golden elixirs had such a status. This was the case on the Heaven Stage Island. A high-level alchemist was enough to be on an equal footing with the higher-ups of the major sections. As soon as the three of them entered the hall, before Chu Tianlu had time to introduce the alchemist to Lin Yi, he heard Chu Yuntian say with a smile, Master Chen, can you discuss this matter again? Our Chu family can use other things to exchange, not necessarily elixirs, right? Chapter 54, 93. Chu Yuntian's face was full of bitterness, but he also understood that Master Chen was a man of his word. He probably wouldn't change no matter how much he begged. Lin Yi was surprised. He really didn't expect that the conditions given by this guy surnamed Chen would be so overbearing. He provided the materials and the alchemy fee, but in the end, he couldn't even get one pill. He could only give it to the old man surnamed Chen. Wasn't this completely making a wedding dress for the old man Chen? Although there was nothing wrong with an alchemist receiving elixir as a reward, and the Heaven Stage Island also had such a rule, the Heaven Stage Island would at least guarantee that in the case of one pill, the employer would be given priority. After all, it was the employer who collected the materials and spent a lot of money on alchemy. If the alchemist could only make one pill, there was no reason to continue to collect elixir after receiving the alchemy fee. At this moment, Chu Yuntian's heart was in a dilemma. Speaking of alchemists who could refine nascent soul golden pills, Old Man Chen wouldn't be the only one in the entire immemorial martial world. However, Chu Yuntian could only invite him. Therefore, other than him, he really couldn't find anyone else to refine nascent soul golden pills. However, the conditions given by this old man Chen were really too harsh. One had to know that the success rate of this old man Chen's alchemy was never more than 30%. With such a low success rate, it was simply impossible to guarantee 2 pills. With a success rate of 30%, if he wanted to make 1 pill, he would have to bear a great risk. Now that he finally made 1 pill, he had to give it to old man Chen. No matter how Chu Yuntian thought about it, he felt that he would end up losing everything. Chu Yuntian, what are you thinking about? Hurry up and give me a straightforward answer. Old man Chen's face was full of impatience. He didn't put Chu Yuntian, a nascent soul old monster, in his eyes at all. However, It was no wonder that the Chu family was originally a small family. Chu Yuntian, a nascent soul old monster, was only the weakest nascent soul early stage. Old Man Chen was an alchemist from the small, archaic underworld five elements sect. The status of the two could be said to be like heaven and earth. In front of Old Man Chen, Chu Yuntian really didn't have much confidence. Because of this, after Chu Yuntian was urged, he could only continue to smile apologetically. Master Chen, this condition is really a bit harsh. Can you let me think about it again? Old Man Chen said, angrily, consider? What was there to consider? Could it be that there is an alchemist more powerful than this seat? Chu Yuntian hurriedly shook his head and said, no, no, in the entire ancient underworld, there aren't many who can compare to you, Master Chen, let alone those who are stronger than you. When Old Man Chen heard this, his expression became slightly better. He snorted coldly and said, since that's the case, what else do you have to consider? Apart from me, who else can turn these materials into pills? Chu Yuntian thought to himself, even if no one can refine it, at least these things belong to our Chu family. If we sell them, we can get back a lot of spiritual jades. But if we let you refine them with your level, it would be difficult for you to even form a single pill. But if a single pill is formed, it will belong to you. Our Chu family's things will be completely wasted. No, even if he were to throw something into the water, he would at least be able to hear a sound. If he were to refine pills, he wouldn't even be able to hear a sound. However, Chu Yuntian could only say these words in his heart. He didn't dare to say any of them out loud. Old Man Chen's status was there, and Chu Yuntian really couldn't afford to offend him. Chu Yuntian didn't dare to open his mouth, but Chu Tianlu, who was frank and straightforward, immediately walked over and cupped his fists. He said, Master Chen, with all due respect, the entire ancient underworld knows that your success rate in alchemy is around 30% at most. If we follow your conditions, our Chu family will basically lose everything. In the end, there is a 99% chance that we won't get anything. So, can you let our Chu family use other things to exchange for one pill? Old Man Chen's expression was as gloomy as water. He said with a sneer, Where did you come from? Junior? Is this where you have the right to speak? Can't you see that this seat is talking to your family's elder? Why are you interrupting? Chu Tianlu said boldly, I am the young patriarch of the Chu family. Right now, I am in charge of all the matters of the Chu family. The same goes for alchemy. Master Chen, do you think that I have the right to speak? According to normal circumstances, Chu Tianlu should at least address himself as a junior. However, he was now Lin Yi's little brother. If he addressed himself as a junior in front of Old Man Chen, it was tantamount to making Lin Yi the same generation as Old Man Chen, or even a junior. This made Chu Tianlu, who worshipped Lin Yi like a god, unable to accept it. So, his tone of speech was a bit harsh. Old Man Chen said furiously, This seat doesn't care if you are the young patriarch or the old patriarch. To put it bluntly, who does your Chu family think you are? How dare you speak to this seat like this? Master Chen, calm down. Let's talk this out. Chu Yuntian hurriedly smiled apologetically and appeased Chu Tianlu. If it was before, he would definitely give Chu Tianlu a good scolding. However, now he didn't dare to do so. Didn't he see that Lin Yi was standing beside Chu Tianlu? If he offended Old Man Chen, at most, he wouldn't be able to perform alchemy. However, if he offended Lin Yi, he would definitely die. Talk. What kind of talk? Is this how your Chu family asks me to perform alchemy? Do you really think that our five elements sect can be bullied by just anyone? Old Man Chen didn't intend to talk nicely at all. In his opinion, for a grassroots family like the Chu family, he had condescended to perform alchemy for them, which was already giving them face. Not only did they not know how to be grateful, but they even wanted to bargain. I dare not, I dare not. Master Chun, you are too serious. Chu Yuntian's forehead was about to break out in cold sweat. If he had known this would happen, he would not have performed alchemy. Today, this seat will leave my words here. Whether you want to or not, you have to do it. Otherwise, if word of this gets out, where will I put my face? Old Man Chin narrowed his slender eyes, which flickered with a cold light. He looked at Chu Yuntian and made him feel cold. However, what he said next made Chu Yuntian feel completely cold. If you don't agree, then the Chu family will be blacklisted by our Five Elements sect. As soon as these words came out, both Chu Yuntian and Chu Tianlu were completely dumbfounded. What did it mean to be blacklisted by the Five Elements sect? Lin Yi might not know, but they were clearly aware of it. In the small Jianghu of ancient times, few sects that offended the Five Elements sect could come out unscathed. Even if there were, it would definitely not be a grassroots family like the Chu family, which had not even entered the top 10 small sections. Chapter 5494. Old Man Chen glanced at Lin Yi contemptuously. He was too lazy to even get angry. He sneered directly and said, "Where did this junior come from? Your Chu family's upbringing is really good. Fine, if you don't ask me to refine pills today, then don't expect me to help you in the future. At the same time, you have to be mentally prepared for the consequences of offending the Five Elements sect." Lin Yi said disdainfully, "If your alchemy level is as high as your ability to scare people, it's not that I can't refine pills for you. Let's not talk about whether you can represent the Five Elements sect. With your alchemy level, there's really nothing to be proud of. Isn't it just alchemy? I can also refine pills. Is it that great?" Bullshit. Old Man Chen almost jumped up. He was most proud of his identity as an alchemist. Now that he was despised by Lin Yi, how could he not be angry? He immediately roared, "Ignorant kid, do you think alchemy is so easy? You also say you can refine pills? This seat has never heard of such a character like you among the alchemists. You can't be so unreliable even if you're boasting, right?" Lin Yi shrugged and said, "Whether I'm boasting or not, we'll know once we try. If you don't believe me, I'll refine the pills. What do you think I should do?" "Impossible." Old Man Chen subconsciously roared and retorted, "Just tell me what to do." Lin Yi was too lazy to talk nonsense with him and pressed him step by step. Old Man Chen said with a ferocious look, "Fine, I'll see what tricks you can play. As long as you can refine pills, I'll refine pills for your Chu family, for free." Lin Yi looked at Old Man Chen with an expression as if he was looking at an idiot and said, "Are you stupid? I've already refined pills. Why do I need you to refine pills for free? Do I need your mediocre alchemy level?" Old Man Chen almost spat blood. Besides the time when he'd just started learning pill refinement, it was really the first time in so many years that he'd been called mediocre in pill refinement. No matter what, he was the top alchemist in the tiny world of the primeval times, and it was truly intolerable. "Junior, you're going too far. Tell me what to do. I really don't believe it today." Old Man Chen really didn't believe that Lin Yi could successfully refine the elixir. He immediately let Lin Yi draw the line. Lin Yi said coolly, "Then let's do it this way. If I can refine it successfully, you can stop refining pills from now on." "All right." Old Man Chen was about to go mad from anger. He agreed without hesitation, and then asked, "What if you can't refine it? What do you want to say?" Lin Yi looked at Old Man Chen mockingly. Lin Yi was simply bullying him. Before it even started, Old Man Chen was destined to lose. Hence, No matter what he said, Lin Yi would not object. It's very simple. You failed, and your Chu clan has to apologize to me. At the same time, pay me 10 times the amount of spirit jades as compensation. Do you have them? If you do, I'll play with you. Old Man Chen forced himself to calm down and said, thinking that victory was in his grasp. Chu Yuntian was shocked when he heard that. To refine this elixir, the Chu clan needed to pay an additional 500 spirit jades to Old Man Chen. Now, he asked for 10 times the compensation, which was 5,000 spirit jades. To the Chu clan, this was a huge sum of money. It was impossible for them to take it out right now. However, Chu Yuntian did not expect that Lin Yi could really refine elixirs. After all, it was true that Lin Yi's strength was powerful, but alchemy and strength did not necessarily have any relation. Chu Yuntian really didn't want to get involved. Old Man Chen secretly sneered. He completely saw Chu Yuntian's expression. Clearly, the Chu clan couldn't take out this amount of spirit jades. Although Old Man Chen was certain that Lin Yi would fail, to be able to gain a little upper hand at this time still made him very happy. How is it? Do you have 5,000 spirit jades? If you do, take it out and let me see. Otherwise, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Hurry up and give me the materials and compensation. Old Man Chen was proud in his heart and felt that he was really quick-witted. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi said calmly, "It's merely 5,000 spirit jades. What's the big deal? You wait." After saying that, Lin Yi turned around and left the hall. 5,000 spirit jades was not something that could be stored in a small bag. It was impossible for Lin Yi to directly take it out from the space in the jade pendant. He could only first find a place to hide from the eyes and ears. Soon, Lin Yi came back carrying a big bag of spirit jades. He threw it in front of Old Man Chen and said, "If you're interested, count it and see if it's enough." Pure spiritual power fluctuations were emitted from the open bags. It was obvious that the quality of the spiritual jades inside was rather good. When Old Man Chen saw the bag full of spiritual jades, he was completely dumbfounded. Even Chu Yuntian and Chu Tianlu were dumbfounded by the sight. Old Man Chen was only surprised that the Chu clan could take out 5,000 spirit jades so easily. However, Chu Yuntian and Chu Tianlu were surprised at where these 5,000 spirit jades came from. Lin Yi obviously didn't bring any big luggage. These 5,000 spirit jades were not something that could be casually carried in one's pocket. Could it be that the entire Chu clan was blind? "Old man, the spirit jades are here. If you don't count them, then I'll take it as you've tacitly agreed." Lin Yi was naturally not interested in explaining the origin of these spirit jades to them. He looked at Old Man Chen indifferently and said, Ah. Old Man Chen was still in shock. He only unconsciously agreed. Then he reacted and said, "Okay. I'll kindly accept these 5,000 spirit jades. Since you, a junior, want to try, then go. Anyway, these materials belong to your Chu clan. Even if you fail, it has nothing to do with me." To be able to earn 5,000 spirit jades, Old Man Chen felt that it wasn't a bad thing. After all, it wasn't easy to refine a nascent soul golden pill. Even if he really succeeded, he couldn't guarantee the quality. Maybe even if he succeeded, he wouldn't be able to directly advance to the nascent soul stage. Lin Yi laughed and said, "These spirit jades are just for you to look at to satisfy your craving. Do you really think that you can take them away? Let's cut the crap. Since you've agreed, then I'll start refining the pill. If you're interested, why don't you just casually refine a pill here, lest you lose the bet and can no longer refine pills?" Old Man Chen snorted disdainfully and said, "Ignorant child. seeing that you're going to give me so many spirit jades, I'll kindly remind you that refining pills isn't something that just anyone can play with. Admit defeat as soon as possible, lest you hurt yourself later. These words are quite suitable for you. After Lin Yi ridiculed him, he no longer paid attention to Old Man Chen. He turned around and said to Chu Tianlu, prepare a secret room for me. I'm going to start refining pills. Chapter 54, 95. However, Chu Tianlu would never doubt Lin Yi's words. Since Lin Yi said he wanted to refine pills in a secret chamber, Chu Tianlu immediately thought about whether there was a suitable place. Oh, right. Bing Wuqing, who was standing at the side of the hall, suddenly asked, Boss Lin Yi, do you need me to protect you? Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. No need, just stay here and watch, in case someone runs away with the spiritual jades. Bing Wuqing hadn't left the hall since yesterday. Since Lin Yi wanted to talk to Duan Muyu, she had been waiting here because she hadn't spoken much, and her body was as cold as an iceberg. Everyone in the Chu family subconsciously wanted to ignore her. Old Man Chen's face darkened. The person Lin Yi was referring to was naturally him. However, what surprised him the most was that both Bing Wuqing and Chu Tianlu called this junior boss. Who on earth was this junior? Could he really be an alchemist? Chu Tianlu, the young master of the Chu family, could be ignored. But who was Bing Wuqing? She was not a simple person. 3 nascent soul old monsters had appeared in the Snow Sword sect. With the resources of the 5 Elements sect, they naturally knew about it. As a senior member of the 5 Elements sect, it would be unreasonable for Old Man Chen not to know Bing Wuqing. In his heart, this was the only possibility he could think of. After all, Lin Yi's strength was only at the foundation establishment stage. He could only be a boss in the field of alchemy. After all, although Old Man Chen was also a nascent soul old monster, he was only at the early stage. But those at the late stage, or even the peak of the nascent soul realm, would also respectfully call him Master Chen or Senior Chen. Old Man Chen could not help but feel a little nervous because of Bing Wuqing's words. Unfortunately, even if he wanted to go back on his word and cancel the bet, Lin Yi would never agree. Boss, I've thought of a suitable place. It's not far from here. Please come with me. Chu Tianlu only thought for a moment, then said, and led Lin Yi to the secret chamber. Lin Yi smiled faintly at Bing Wuqing and Duan Muyu, gesturing with his eyes for them to wait for him here. Then he followed Chu Tianlu out of the hall. That secret chamber was indeed not far from the hall. To be precise, it was under the study that Lin Yi and Duan Muyu stayed in yesterday. It was originally intended to be used to store some less precious books and other items, but this study was not used much, so there were not many things stored in the underground secret chamber. Lin Yi nodded. Last night, he discovered that there was a space below, but he didn't know it was a secret room. He thought it was just an ordinary storage room. Boss, this secret chamber isn't used by anyone, but it has good ventilation, and there are people who clean it, so it's quite clean. If you're not satisfied, we can change to another place. Chu Tianlu opened the entrance to the secret chamber and said respectfully, "This place is not bad. Let's do it here." Lin Yi said indifferently. He just didn't want to be seen when he was concocting pills. In fact, it was the same even if the doors and windows of the study were closed. However, since there was a more suitable place, Lin Yi wouldn't object. "Then you can go down, boss. Do you need me to stand guard here? I don't want anyone to disturb you while you're concocting pills." Chu Tianlu gave way to the entrance, and at the same time applied to stand guard for Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded and said, "That's fine too. Then wait for me up here." "Yes, boss." Chu Tianlu's face lit up, and he hurriedly cupped his fists and agreed. Lin Yi went down the stairs to the secret chamber. As Chu Qianlu had said, the ventilation was good, and the place was very clean. There was no problem in concocting pills here. After taking out the automatic alchemy furnace, Lin Yi wasted no time and immediately began to concoct pills. However, when Lin Yi chose the nascent soul golden pill on the panel, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. The ingredients and pill recipes were different, so the nascent soul golden pill recipe that was stored in the alchemy artifact was naturally useless. I can only input a new recipe. Fortunately, the Heavenly Road sent the recipe for the sea beast's inner core just now. Lin Yi shook his head and muttered with a smile. Then he took out the nascent soul golden pill recipe that Chu Qianlu had given him and quickly input it. After inputting the recipe, the process of automatically analyzing the recipe began. Lin Yi was not in a hurry. After all, it was not impossible for ordinary people to spend 10 days to half a month to concoct pills. As long as the recipe was analyzed with the speed of the automatic alchemy furnace, the pills would be formed in a short while. Half an hour later, Lin Yi looked at the words "analysis failed" on the panel and could not help but slap his forehead. Only then did he remember that there was no information about the sea beast's inner core on the Heaven Stage Island. Moreover, the pill recipes here were all concocted using the alchemy fire condensed by divine sense, which was completely different from the setup of the alchemy artifact. After all, the computer was not the human brain. It could only execute the preset program. Han Jingjing, the creator, did not know about alchemy using the divine sense alchemy fire. Naturally, it was impossible to take this situation into account in advance, so it was normal that the new recipe could not be recognized. This matter could only wait for Lin Yi to return to the Heaven Stage Island and find Han Jingjing to study it and see if there could be a solution. However, in this way, even if he had the inner core of the sea beast in the gold core stage, there was no way to successfully refine the gold core golden pill. This was the thing that gave Lin Yi a headache. What a headache! Since there was no way to try alchemy with the inner core, then now he could only use the nascent soul golden pill that was refined on the Heaven Stage Island. Although the materials were different, the final effect was the same. After the elixir was formed, it was definitely not a simple matter to analyze the composition of the elixir. It was estimated that only a local tyrant like Lin Yi would not care about it. Others would only waste the nascent soul golden pill to analyze the composition. He took out the 2 nascent soul golden pills and looked at them. Due to the preservation ability of the space of the jade pendant, these 2 elixirs were still maintained in the state when they were just taken out of the furnace. There was no problem at all in using them to fish in troubled waters. However, after Lin Yi thought about it, he still put these 2 nascent soul golden pills back. It was too early to go out now. It seemed to be too shocking. He might as well refine another batch of nascent soul golden pills. Anyway, he had to use them. There was a lot of nascent ginseng, and there were enough auxiliary elixirs. With the idea that he was idle, Lin Yi chose the previous nascent soul golden pill recipe. He put a piece of nascent ginseng and other auxiliary materials into the alchemy artifact and began to refine the elixir step by step. This time, Lin Yi only put in 4 sets of materials. In the end, there were 7 elixirs, which was quite good. After putting 5 of them into the space of the jade pendant, Lin Yi put the remaining 2 in a small box and went out. Chapter 54-96. Lin Yi was slightly startled. What do you mean it doesn't matter if I fail? I've already refined the pill. Oh, you've refined the pill? What? You've refined the pill? Chu Qianlu didn't react at first. Then he jumped up abruptly and stammered. Boss, did you say you succeeded? It wasn't anything difficult. What's there to be surprised about? Lin Yi smiled faintly and gestured to Chu Tianlu. Let's go. Let's go and see the grand occasion of Old Man Chen washing his hands in a golden basin. Chu Tianlu made an "oh" sound and followed Lin Yi to the hall in a daze. He hadn't recovered from the shock of Lin Yi successfully refining the nascent soul golden pill. It wasn't that Chu Tianlu didn't have confidence in Lin Yi. The key was how long had passed. Who didn't spend a few days refining pills? A few days was fast. What about Lin Yi? Did he go in for 4 hours? When Chu Tianlu saw Lin Yi, he instinctively thought that Lin Yi had ruined the pill as soon as he started refining. The two of them entered the hall one after the other. When Old Man Chen saw Lin Yi, he immediately revealed a mocking smile. Yo, isn't this our genius alchemist? Why did you come out so quickly? Oh my, I thought you could at least persevere for a day or two. I didn't expect you to be finished just like that. Why do you need a day or two? Didn't you come out when you're done? Lin Yi curled his lips and chuckled. Isn't it just refining a nascent soul golden pill? Only a 3-legged cat. Like, you would need a few days. Don't tell me you've already refined the nascent soul golden pill. Old Man Chen looked like he was watching a joke. He wouldn't believe such a thing, even if he was beaten to death. This was a nascent soul golden pill, not a low-level pill like the Recover pill or the Recover pill. How could it be refined so quickly? Brag. Continue to brag, but I don't have time to play with you. I'll accept these spiritual jades. Lin Yi raised his hand and took out the small box. You can forget about the spiritual jades. However, before you stop refining pills, I can let you see what true alchemy is. Old Man Chen felt very uneasy in his heart. Lin Yi's performance really didn't look like someone who failed in alchemy. Could it be that he really refined a nascent soul golden core? Old Man Chen really wouldn't believe such a thing even if he was beaten to death. But after Lin Yi opened the lid, Old Man Chen felt that it was better for someone to quickly beat him to death in that inconspicuous little box. There were actually 2 nascent soul golden pills, and they were not ordinary nascent soul golden pills. Judging from the halos circulating on them, they were definitely top-grade nascent soul golden pills. To be honest, as a top alchemist in the small archaic underworld, Old Man Chen had never seen a top-grade nascent soul golden pill. It was almost something that only existed in legends. Now, it actually appeared in front of him abruptly, and it wasn't just 1, but 2. Not only was Old Man Chen shocked, but even Chu Yuntian was pleasantly surprised. Even Chu Tianlu, who already knew that Lin Yi had succeeded in refining pills, was a little dumbfounded. Chu Tianlu only knew that Lin Yi had succeeded in concocting a pill, but he'd always thought that Lin Yi had only barely managed to concoct 1 pill. However, Lin Yi had once again refreshed his image in Chu Tianlu's heart. Impossible. This must have been prepared a long time ago. Old Man Chen suddenly shouted. This matter really broke his understanding. In a moment of desperation, he could only think of such a reason, and he instantly believed in his own analysis. Lin Yi's mouth was full of mockery, and he said lightly, "Can't you see whether it was prepared a long time ago or not?" Old Man Chen leaped over with a swoosh. He didn't care whether Lin Yi agreed or not, and he reached out to grab the nascent soul golden pill in the small box. Lin Yi withdrew his hand, and Old Man Chen grabbed empty air. Immediately, he became angry out of humiliation and said, "If you don't let me see, how do I know whether it was prepared a long time ago? Could it be that you're guilty? You can only look, but you're not allowed to move. I'm afraid that your hands will be dirty." Lin Yi's face was indifferent, but it was this expression, combined with his words, that made Old Man Chen's old face instantly turn red. "I'm afraid that your hands will be dirty." Old Man Chen was really going crazy. For so many years as a dignified alchemist, he was respected and sought after everywhere he went. When had he ever been humiliated like this? However, Lin Yi didn't have the slightest consciousness of humiliating him. In his opinion, since you like to be arrogant and despotic, then don't blame me, who specializes in dealing with arrogant and despotic people, for being rude to you. Good. Nice to meet you. Old Min Chun really wanted to fly into a rage, but after seeing the unfriendly expression on Bing Wuqing's face, he desperately suppressed his anger. Junior, I'll remember you. Bring it over, and let me see it clearly. As long as he could prove that these two nascent soul golden pills had been refined a long time ago, then everything could be reversed. Therefore, after Old Min Chun suppressed his anger, he focused his attention on the small box in Lin Yi's hand. Those two supreme-grade nascent soul golden pills, in the eyes of Old Min Chun, were really perfect works. If these perfect works were refined by himself, then it would be even more perfect. Unfortunately, this possibility was almost non-existent. With his talent, he had long reached the peak of alchemy, and it was impossible for him to have any further breakthroughs. A faint greed flashed in Old Min Chun's eyes. Faced with two supreme-grade nascent soul golden pills, it was impossible for him not to be tempted. However, although Old Min Chun wasn't weak, he had absolutely no chance of winning against nascent soul old monsters like Bing Wuqing or Chu Yuntian. After all, alchemists had always been weaker in terms of their abilities, so he could only observe the pills carefully. Old Min Chun was even calculating in his heart. If he could prove that these two nascent soul golden pills had been prepared a long time ago, then he wouldn't even want his 5,000 spirit jade. These supreme-grade, nascent, soul golden pills had to be in his hands. Unfortunately, no matter how good Old Man Chen's plans were, it was useless in the end, because no matter how he looked at it, these two nascent soul golden cores were in a state that had just been refined, and it was even to the extent that the temperature on the surface of the pill hadn't completely dissipated. If he approached it, he would be able to feel the strand of hot air that was wrapped in a lingering pill fragrance slowly rising up. Lin Yi looked at Old Min Chun mockingly and smiled indifferently. Have you seen enough? Are you going to lie through your teeth and say that these two nascent soul golden pills have been prepared a long time ago? Old Min Chun's face turned red and then green. He straightened his back, but he couldn't say anything. If he could, he really wanted to say that Lin Yi had prepared them a long time ago, but the fact was that these were indeed nascent soul golden pills that had just been refined. If Lin Yi could refine two supreme-grade nascent soul golden pills in such a short time, then Lin Yi's alchemy skills had long gone beyond Old Min Chun's imagination. The mobile game, Campus Belle's Bodyguard, is hot. Please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and WeChat official Urine22. All kinds of latest news, signed books, and activities are constantly being sent. Chapter 5497. Even the entire Five Elements sect would not dare to offend such a person, let alone Old Man Chin, who was only an alchemist of the Five Elements sect. As an alchemist, he naturally knew that a person with such alchemy skills could gather a terrifying force if he wanted to. It's just been refined. No matter how unwilling he was, Old Man Chen could only grit his teeth and nod his head to admit it. It was not only because he feared Lin Yi, but also because of Bing Wuqing, who was looking at him coldly from the side. Lin Yi nodded. This old man was quite sensible and did not intend to fight to the end. Lin Yi immediately closed the lid of the box and said, "Since you admit that this is a golden pill of nascent soul that has just been refined, you also admit to this bet. So I win." "You win." Old Man Chen clenched his teeth and stamped his feet. After saying this, he immediately lowered his head and walked out dejectedly. Lin Yi did not stop him. As for the bet that old man Chen could not refine pills in the future, Lin Yi did not care much. Unless old man Chen's divine sense was destroyed on the spot, he could only rely on old man Chen to restrain himself. Lin Yi estimated that this old man would not keep his promise. After old man Chen left, Chu Yuntian rushed to Lin Yi's side, bowed slightly, and said with a smile, "Senior Lin." No, it's Master Lin. I didn't expect Master Lin to be so hidden. Not only is his strength outstanding, but he is also the best in alchemy. In such a short time, you can refine 2 golden pills of nascent soul. It would be an insult to Master Lin to say that you are a genius. Ahem. Lin Yi could not help coughing a few times. Such mushy flattery, coming from the mouth of an old man like Chu Yuntian, really made Lin Yi a little uncomfortable. Chu Tianlu was much more honest. He just praised loudly. Big brother is the big brother. I, Chu Tianlu, am so lucky to be able to meet a big brother like you. I'm afraid there is no other person like you in the entire ancient underworld. Brother Wuqing, our foresight is really good to the max. All right, even Lin Yi found the flattery of an honest person a little hard to accept. Who would have thought that after hearing Chu Tianlu's praise, Bing Wuqing, with her ice-cold face, would actually nod with a serious expression, expressing her agreement? Yi Qingqing's face was full of envy as he watched the scene unfold. He wanted to say something to flatter Lin Yi, but realized that he couldn't get a word in. Now that he thought about it, he really regretted it. Back when Lin Yi first came to Yiling's sect, if he had decisively made Duanmu Yu and Lin Yi get on good terms, wouldn't Yiling's sect have been reborn? Glancing at Duanmu Yu, who was quietly smiling at the side, Yi Qingqing thought to himself, fortunately, it's not too late to realize this. With Duanmu Yu around, Lin Yi will never abandon Yiling's sect. As for the Chu clan, Yi Qingqing thought that their rise seemed to be foreseeable. Especially this time, Yi Qingqing saw with his own eyes that the Chu clan's foundation was quite deep. Previously, the Chu clan released news to the public, claiming that there were only 2 or 3 gold cores in the Chu clan, but the truth was that there were at least 10 gold cores in the Chu clan. Coupled with Chu Yuntian, who had a supreme-grade gold core, the Chu clan strength was enough to establish a firm foothold among the 10 small sects and families. While Yi Qingqing was calculating in his heart, Lin Yi took out a gold core of nascent soul and handed it to Chu Yuntian. This is the one I promised to give you. I'll make the decision to give the other one to Yi Qingqing. You don't have any objections, do you? No. Master Lin, you're too polite. This should have been Master Lin's. I'm deeply grateful that you gave me one. How dare I have any objections to Master Lin's things? Chu Yuntian shook his head like a rattle drum, for fear of causing Lin Yi to misunderstand. It should be known that Chu Yuntian had been prepared to not get a single gold core before, now that he could get one, and it was a supreme-grade gold core of nascent soul at that. He was already overjoyed. It was like a dream. How could he have any objections? Besides, according to the rules, the medicinal pills refined by Lin Yi should belong to Lin Yi. Whether Lin Yi kept it for himself or gave it away, or even fed it to a dog, it had nothing to do with Chu Yuntian. Yi Qingqing was also overjoyed. He was thinking of continuing to deepen the friendship and connection with the Chu family. Suddenly, when he heard that Lin Yi would give him a gold core of nascent soul, he even wanted to kneel down and hug Lin Yi's thigh. Fortunately, he knew how to restrain himself and barely suppressed this shameful thought. He pointed at himself with a trembling finger and asked incredulously, "Master Lin, you said you're going to give me one?" Gold core of nascent soul. Supreme grade? Lin Yi closed the lid indifferently and threw it to Yi Qingqing. "There's only one supreme grade. I can't give you anything else." Yi Qingqing caught the small box in a flurry. This was a treasure that contained a supreme-grade gold core of nascent soul. If he dropped it, he would die of heartache. Until he got the small box, Yi Qingcheng still felt like he was dreaming. All of this was too unreal. Was he going to advance to the nascent soul realm? Was Yi Ling's sect going to have another nascent soul old monster? Master Lin, you've really hidden your strength well. Not only are you outstanding, but you're also the best in alchemy. In such a short time, you were able to refine 2 supreme-grade gold cores of nascent soul realm. It's an insult to you, Master Lin, to say that you're a genius. Yi Qingcheng suddenly complimented Lin Yi. However, this line sounded very familiar to Lin Yi. Chu Yuntian glanced at Yi Qingcheng disdainfully. Not only did this guy give me a gold core of nascent soul realm, but he also copied my compliments to Master Lin. He even used them in front of the original without changing a single word. Did he have any sense of morality? Linny coughed dryly. Lin was really ashamed of their compliments. At this moment, he could only smile bitterly in his heart. He really wasn't a genius. Moreover, after trying this time, he knew that it was impossible for Han Jingjing to refine the elixir recipe of the primordial underworld with this godly alchemy artifact before she leveled up. If he wanted to improve Duanmu Yu's strength, he could only use the gold core of nascent soul realm. However, he couldn't refine the godly alchemy artifact. Even if Lin Yi went to capture many gold core realm sea beasts and obtain their inner cores, it would be useless. He couldn't refine a large number of elixirs that could improve his strength. In the face of the increasingly powerful core, Lin Yi only felt great pressure. He could easily kill a nascent soul realm cultivator, but the people around him couldn't. Bing Wuqing was a genius and could challenge a nascent soul realm cultivator with a higher level, but the chances of her winning were 50-50 at most. If it were someone else, it would be even worse. The mobile game, Schoolbell's Bodyguard, is hot. Please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and WeChat official Urine22. All kinds of latest news, autograph books, and activities are constantly being sent. Chapter 5498. If the center started to target Lin Yi, they would inevitably start with the people around him. At that time, these people who were at a disadvantage obviously couldn't resist. No matter how powerful Lin Yi was, he was only one person. Facing a large number of experts in the center, it was absolutely impossible to defend. Moreover, Lin Yi had to go back to the heavenly stage island eventually. It was impossible to stay in the ancient Jianghu. This was an unsolvable problem. Yi Qingcheng happily held the nascent soul golden pill in his hand. Duanmu Yu on the side was also quite surprised. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be so generous and directly give a nascent soul golden pill to Yi Qingcheng. Of course, Duanmu Yu also knew that Lin Yi did this for her sake, so she couldn't help but feel a little sweet in her heart. This feeling was like a husband giving a gift to his wife's family. Thinking about it made her blush a little. Lin Yi didn't know Duanmu Yu's little thoughts, but he did give a nascent soul golden pill to Yi Qingcheng for Duanmu Yu's sake. Anyway, he still had nascent soul golden pills. If it wasn't enough, he could refine more. It didn't matter if it was 1 or 2. Tianlu, do you know who Chu Tianliang learned alchemy from? Is there any alchemy mental cultivation method or something? Linny thought about it. He still had to solve it from the alchemy method of the ancient Jianghu. In any case, he had to at least figure out how to use his divine sense to condense the alchemy fire. Chu Yuntian immediately answered, if it's alchemy mental cultivation method, there should be. Tianlu, quickly go and find it for Master Lin. Be quick. Chu Tianlu nodded, then turned to Lin Yi and said, Boss, Chu Tianliang's alchemy mental cultivation method seems to be there. I seem to have seen it, when I was looking for alchemy manual before. But boss, you are already so good at alchemy. Why do you still need to look at Chu Tianliang's alchemy mental cultivation method? He is just a low-level alchemist, and the alchemy mental cultivation method is at most some basic methods. Lin Yi thought to himself that the basic methods were right. If you gave me a profound one, I might not be able to understand it. I just want to take a look and confirm some of my thoughts. Lin Yi said casually. Chu Yuntian said, unhappily, why are you so insensible, child? Master Lin is your boss. What are you being so long-winded about your boss's orders? Hurry up and get it. How can a junior like you fathom Master Lin's thoughts? Chu Tianlu shrunk his neck. After responding, he quickly ran out. Although he was already the young master of the Chu clan who held great power, he was still somewhat afraid in front of Chu Yuntian. Lin Yi casually chatted with a few people, and then Chu Tianlu hurriedly ran back, holding a book in his hand. It was precisely Chu Tianliang's pill concoction mental technique. Boss, I brought the item. See if it's what you need. Chu Tianlu ran in front of Lin Yi and handed over the book with both hands. Lin Yi casually thanked him, took it, and flipped through a few pages. This was indeed Chu Tianliang's pill concoction mental technique. It contained the most basic method of condensing the alchemy fire with the divine sense. Lin Yi was secretly delighted. As long as he could condense the alchemy fire with his divine sense, even if he couldn't use it for automatic alchemy, he could at least try to refine it himself. After putting away the pill concoction mental technique, Lin Yi continued to say a few words to the crowd, and then he left alone to return to his room, preparing to study this pill concoction mental technique. With the strength of Lin Yi's divine sense, it would not be a problem to say that it was the strongest in the ancient small world. At the beginning, the condensation was still smooth. Lin Yi quickly used his divine sense to form the alchemy fire, which was a good start. However, then Lin Yi discovered a problem. A good start was not equal to half the success. No matter how Lin Yi tried, there was no way to control the intensity and temperature of the alchemy fire. What the hell? Why is it like this again? It was obviously carried out according to this pill concoction mental technique. Lin Yi muttered helplessly, but he was still at his wits' end. Speaking of which, Lin Yi's cultivation could be said to be smooth sailing, but on the path of alchemy, there was no progress. It was the same when he was in the secular world. Although he could successfully generate the alchemy fire, there was no way to control the intensity and temperature of the alchemy fire. However, at that time, because of the incomplete attributes, he could not become an alchemist. Later, his attributes were complete, but he still couldn't refine alchemy by himself. If it wasn't for the automatic alchemy artifact invented by Han Jingjing, Lin Yi's progress would never be so fast. Maybe he would have been finished somewhere. There's no reason. The alchemy fire condensed by true qi is like this. How can the alchemy fire condensed by divine sense be like this? It should be possible. Why is it the same? Lin Yi kept looking at the pill concoction mental technique, and his mouth continued to mutter, hoping to find the reason why he kept failing. After a while, Lin Yi seemed to have figured something out, and he shook his head with a wry smile. Perhaps it was because Lin Yi was now a soul, and controlling the intensity and temperature of the alchemy fire had to rely on his physical hand to control it. But now Lin Yi was not a physical body. Although he could use divine sense to condense alchemy fire, he couldn't control it. Of course, whether this was the case or not, Lin Yi also couldn't verify it. After all, this was only his guess. In any case, Lin Yi could be said to be useless in the path of alchemy. Even the most powerful cultivation genius had shortcomings. Fortunately, Han Jingjing could make up for this shortcoming with science, so it wouldn't affect Lin Yi too much. Thinking about this, Lin Yi completely gave up the idea of using the sea beast's Niden for alchemy in the ancient small world. In this way, Lin Yi must find another way. Otherwise, his advantage would be lost. Lin Yi suddenly missed Han Jingjing very much. If this genius girl was here, she would definitely be able to solve this problem easily. Unfortunately, before he returned to Heaven Stage Island, it would be impossible to see Han Jingjing. Since condensing alchemy fire was useless, Lin Yi no longer forced himself. Instead, he continued to refine the residual medicinal power of the divine sense fruit. It was also quite important to remove the tumor of divine sense as soon as possible. The next day, Yi Qingqing came to the small courtyard with Duanmu Yu early in the morning, ready to visit Lin Yi. Originally, Duanmu Yu felt that there was no need to be so careful. When looking for Lin Yi, he could directly knock on the door, but Yi Qingqing didn't dare to be so negligent, even if Duanmu Yu might become Lin Yi's woman. Master Yi, why are you looking for me so early? Come in and talk. Fortunately, Lin Yi's divine sense was always monitoring the small courtyard. After discovering Yi Qingqing and Duanmu Yu's arrival, he immediately opened the door and invited them in. Yi Qingqing hurried forward and saluted respectfully. Master Lin, I'm really sorry to disturb you so early. It doesn't matter. Lin Yi smiled faintly and nodded gently to Duanmu Yu as a greeting. Master Yi, what's the matter for you to come so early? For the latest news of the School Bell's new book, please add Fishman's QQ God public account. Fishman2, WeChat public account Urine22. Various activities are held regularly. Autograph books are sent continuously. Chapter 54, 99. Yes, I have something to ask of you. Yi Qingqing didn't look like a sect master at all at this time. His face was full of a humble smile. It couldn't be helped. Whether it was Lin Yi's strength or Lin Yi's alchemy ability, Yi Qingqing couldn't catch up to them. Therefore, Yi Qingqing didn't feel wronged by this humble attitude at all. Lin Yi asked the two of them to enter the room and sit down. Then he said lightly, What's the matter, Sect Master Yi? Yi Qingqing didn't dare to be careless. He stood up again, bowed slightly, and cupped his fists. Junior Yi Qingqing thanks Master Lin for bestowing the elixir to me yesterday. Today, I would like to ask Master Lin to continue to help and protect me. Protect? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He thought it was something important, so it was to protect him? Although it would waste some time, with Duanmu Yu's face, it didn't seem to be a big deal. Duanmu Yu smiled at Lin Yi. Our Yiling sect hasn't had a nascent soul realm cultivator for a long time, and the Grand Supreme Elder has been in seclusion recently. Therefore, the sect master has some concerns about breaking through to the nascent soul realm. He wants to ask you to protect him, because he's afraid that something will go wrong. I see. Lin Yi nodded. In fact, with the supreme grade nascent soul and the golden pill, and Yi Qingqing was a veteran in the exceptional gold core realm, breaking through to the nascent soul realm was absolutely a matter of course. However, Lin Yi could understand his concerns, so he immediately said, No problem. Since you want me to protect you, I will protect you. Anyway, I'm not going to leave the Chu family these days. Yi Qingqing was immediately surprised and said, Thank you, Master Lin. In this way, this junior has full confidence. After that, Yi Qingqing didn't delay and immediately said goodbye. Master Lin, then I will go and prepare. You can chat with Xiaoyu first. When you are free, we will start to break through to the nascent soul realm. Duanmu Yu's pretty face was slightly red. She lowered her head and didn't speak. She really wanted to chat with Lin Yi, but after hearing Yi Qingqing's words, she felt a little shy. All right, go ahead. Inform me when you're ready. Lin Yi waved his hand. indicating that Yi Qingcheng could leave. In fact, Lin Yi was prepared to leave today, but since there was such a thing, he would have to wait a few more days. After all, not everyone was like him, and the people around him who treated breaking through to the next realm as an ordinary cultivation. Yi Qingcheng didn't say much, and very perceptively retreated. Lin Yi was just about to say something to Duan Muyu, when his divine sense discovered that Chu Yuntian had brought Chu Tianlu over. "It's really lively today." Lin Yi shook his head slightly and said to Duan Muyu with a smile. He raised his voice and said, "Tianlu, come in with your grandfather. Don't wait at the door." "Boss, you have guests here. Let's come back later." As soon as Chu Tianlu entered the courtyard, he vaguely saw Duan Muyu in Lin Yi's room. He suddenly felt a little awkward. This was disturbing the boss's good time. In fact, when they came over just now, they had already seen Yi Qingcheng leave in a hurry, but they didn't care. They didn't expect that Duan Muyu would stay with Lin Yi. Before Lin Yi could speak, Duan Muyu said in a low voice with a red face, "Lin Yi, I'm going to help Uncle Sect Leader to make some preparations to break through to the nascent soul realm. We'll talk about it when you're free." After saying that, she directly lowered her head and walked out quickly, leaving Lin Yi to watch her leave, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. She was clearly a valiant and cheerful girl, but why did she become so shy now? Chu Yuntian, who came in behind Chu Tianlu, was also a little embarrassed. After Duan Muyu went out, he coughed twice and said, "Master Lin, did we come at the wrong time?" Lin Yi thought to himself, "Do you still think you came at the right time?" However, seeing that Chu Tianlu was a little nervous, Lin Yi didn't bother to argue. He waved them into the room, sat down, and asked, "What are you two up to this early in the morning?" Chu Yuntian glanced at Chu Tianlu, thought for a moment, and said, "It's like this, Master Lin, I'm going to take the nascent soul golden pill. It's just that I haven't taken the best nascent soul golden pill before, so I don't have a concept of its efficacy. If Master Lin is free, can you help me take care of me while I'm taking the pill?" Hearing Chu Yuntian talk to him as a junior, Lin Yi felt a little uncomfortable. After all, he was Chu Tianlu's grandfather. Although cultivators respected strength, it was still a little awkward. Since he had promised Yi Qingcheng, he naturally didn't need Chu Yuntian. Lin Yi simply nodded and said, "No problem. Come and find me when you're ready." Chu Yuntian was immediately overjoyed. He didn't expect Lin Yi to agree to protect him so readily. After all, he was already at the early nascent soul stage. If he took the nascent soul golden pill to increase his strength, there would be no problem. He dragged Chu Tianlu over to ask for Lin Yi's help, just to get closer to Lin Yi. Now it seemed that Lin Yi really thought highly of the Chu family. In the future, as long as he held on to Lin Yi's thick thigh, the Chu family's rise would be unstoppable. Just as he was about to say a few more words to worm his way into Lin Yi's good graces, Lin Yi seemed a little uninterested. Chu Yuntian immediately took his leave and took Chu Tianlu with him, lest he wandered around in front of Lin Yi and made Lin Yi unhappy. A few days later, under Lin Yi's protection, Yi Qingcheng successfully reached the nascent soul stage and became the second nascent soul stage old monster of the Yiling sect. He could finally stabilize the Yiling sect's position, and Chu Yuntian successfully advanced by a small level. The whole process was quite easy. Lin Yi's protection really just watched from the side. After everything here was settled, Lin Yi was ready to leave. He gathered them together and said goodbye. "Tianlu, the matter of your Chu family has come to an end here. I have to go back to the Blue Cloud sect in the North Island. Wuching, Xiao you two go back to your sects. Big brother Lin, why don't I accompany you back to the Blue Cloud sect in the North Island first?" Bing Wuching's face was still cold, but her tone was not as stiff as before. Lin Yi smiled faintly and waved his hand. No need. You have to go back to the Snow Sword sect to prepare. Yu Taitsong is done for, and Xue Jianfeng is also unreliable. Your Snow Sword sect has 3 nascent soul stage experts, and in the end, only you can bear the responsibility. Let's meet at the distant ancient grand meeting. Hearing what Lin Yi said, Bing Wuching hesitated a little, but did not insist. Anyway, in Bing Wuching's mind, Lin Yi's strength was far superior to his. If Lin Yi could not handle the situation, it would not make much difference whether he was there or not. For the Campus Bell's external articles, the latest news of the new book, please add the Fishman's QQ God public account, Fishman2, and the WeChat public account, Urine22. All kinds of activities are held regularly, and autographed books are constantly sent. Chapter 5500. Boss Lin Yi, then I won't hold you back. I need to discuss the matters of the Chu clan with my grandfather. In any case, it won't be long before the opening of the Archaean Grand Meeting. We'll be able to meet again very soon. Chu Qianlu was as straightforward as always, without the slightest hesitation. Lin Yi patted him on the shoulder and said, "The Chu family has just experienced some turmoil. You need to spend more time sorting it out. See you at the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting." The Archaeozoic Grand Meeting was about to be held. It was a grand meeting about the re-ranking of the 4 major sects and families and the 10 minor sects and families. As the name suggested, it was a grand meeting of the entire Jianghu in the Archaeozoic small world. All the sects and families would participate in this grand meeting. Those who were ambitious would try their best to show their strength in the grand meeting, striving to be ranked among the 4 major and 10 minor families and sections. The Blue Cloud sect in the North Island was also one of the 10 minor sects and families, so Lin Yi had to go back and lead the team to participate. After saying that, Lin Yi looked back at Duan Muyu and said with a smile, "Xiaoyu, do you want to go back to the Blue Cloud sect with me? Anyway, the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting will be handled by your uncle master. You don't need to do anything." Duan Muyu was a little tempted by Lin Yi's invitation. If she wanted to go, Yi Qingcheng would probably agree wholeheartedly. Wasn't the opportunity to follow Lin Yi what Yi Qingcheng had always wanted Duan Muyu to do? However, Duan Muyu only thought about it for a moment and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Lin Yi. I can't go to the Blue Cloud sect with you this time because my strength has improved. I have to go back to the sect to see my master. Anyway, we'll meet again soon. Let's meet at the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting. Okay, take care of yourself." Although Lin Yi felt a little regretful, he didn't care too much. As they said, the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting was just around the corner. Today was a temporary separation, but they would meet again soon. After saying a few more words to them, Lin Yi directly stepped on the flying spirit beast and flew to the Blue Cloud sect in the North Island. After Lin Yi left, Bing Wuching immediately left the Chu clan as well. She returned to the Snow Sword faction to prepare for the immemorial meeting. Duan Muyu, on the other hand, was a little late. He left together with Yi Qingcheng. The Blue Cloud sect of the North Island was originally in the top 10 small family sects, and it was ranked in the middle. Lin Yi's goal this time was not only to keep this ranking, but also to make the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island fight for the ranking of the 4 major sects, if possible. Originally, this kind of ranking did not mean much to Lin Yi, but on account of his relationship with the Jadian sect, it was only right for him to help out a little. The only thing he needed to worry about was how many puppets the central force of the primordial underworld had secretly developed, and how many clans and sects had they secretly controlled. If the Central Force chose to make trouble at the immemorial meeting with the force that Lin Yi had established now, he might not be a match for the Central Force. After all, the number of experts on Lin Yi's side was too small. Without the enhancement of Gold Core and Golden Core, even if Lin Yi had a lot of Gold Core, he could not create a batch of nascent soul old monsters that could fight against the Central Force. Fortunately, when Lin Yi returned to the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island, the first thing he received was good news. That was, Xian Ijia had successfully reached the nascent soul realm, which completely stabilized his position in the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island. This guy was a good person, and he firmly stood on Lin Yi's side. Finally, it was time for a big harvest. "Granduncle, you're back." Hearing the news of Lin Yi's return, Xian Ijia immediately brought Hong Zijuan to welcome Lin Yi, and they maintained their usual respect. "Not bad. Not only did you succeed in reaching the nascent soul realm, but you've also completely stabilized your strength. It seems that you're quite talented. Even if you're not as talented as Bing Wuqing, you should be above average." Lin Yi nodded and praised him with a smile. Xian Ijia immediately thanked him. "It's all thanks to Granduncle's help. Otherwise, I would still be a small figure in the early stage of Gold Core. How could I advance so quickly? Rather than saying that I'm talented, it's better to say that Granduncle has completely reborn me. So, I'll always remember Granduncle's kindness in my heart." "You don't have to say that. You've earned all this yourself. No matter what it is, you deserve it." What Lin Yi said was the truth. He had never been a good person. Even if the elixirs were moldy, he would not give them to those who had nothing to do with him. Xian Ijia was able to get Lin Yi's approval because he had earned everything himself. The Archean Grand Meeting is about to begin. How's the North Island's Blue Cloud sect's preparation this time? Lin Yi and Xian Ijia asked casually as they walked into the sect. In fact, there was no need for Lin Yi to ask Xian Ijia. With his divine sense, it was enough to scan the entire sect. Lin Yi already knew what the North Island's Blue Cloud sect was like. Thanks to Granduncle, the disciples of the North Island's Blue Cloud sect have made great progress in strength recently. If we don't make further progress in this Archean Grand Meeting, the North Island's Blue Cloud sect will definitely occupy a place among the 4 sects and families in the next Archean Grand Meeting. Speaking of the North Island's Blue Cloud sect's current situation and future, Xian Ijia was immediately full of confidence. "You've done well. The North Island's Blue Cloud sect will definitely flourish in your hands." Lin Yi was really satisfied with Xian Ijia. Today's North Island's Blue Cloud sect was completely thriving. As long as it kept going, it would definitely be one of the 4 sections. Of course, the premise was that there was no troublemaker like the center to stir up trouble. "Thank you for your compliment, Granduncle. For the North Island's Blue Cloud sect, I'll definitely do my best." Xian Ijia was interrupted by Lin Yi's surprised before he could finish his sentence. "Granduncle, what's wrong?" Xian Ijia looked at Lin Yi strangely, but found that Lin Yi turned his head to look at the distant sky outside the sect. There seemed to be a small black dot approaching quickly. "Nothing. It seems that a guest is coming," Lin Yi said faintly. He turned back and stood there lazily, waiting for the black dot to come. Xian Ijia and Hong Zijuan were secretly surprised. At such a long distance, it was hard for them to identify what the black dot was even with their best eyesight. How could Lin Yi be sure that it was a guest? Although they didn't know what kind of guest it was, such insight was enough to amaze them. After a short while, the black dot enlarged rapidly. It was a rare flying spiritual beast, the 4-winged black eagle. On the back of the 4-winged black eagle sat a gloomy old man with fluttering beard and hair. For the latest news of the Schoolbell's new book, please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and the WeChat official Urine22. All kinds of activities are held regularly, and autographed books are constantly sent. Chapter 55:01. They don't look friendly. Looks like an evil guest is here. Linny raised an eyebrow as he looked at the undisguised murderous aura in the air. They'd have to be blind to have come with good intentions if they said they were here with good intentions. Xian Ijia's expression changed slightly. Four-winged black eagle is a flying spiritual beast of the evil warding sect. Other sects don't have such a rare flying spiritual beast. That old man, is he the supreme elder of the evil warding sect, Yin Chuncheng? Evil warding sect? Why did he come to our green cloud sect so aggressively? Lin Yi found the name familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had heard of this small sect. Xian Ijia whispered, Grand Master, Yin Chuncheng is a peak-late, nascent soul cultivator. He's only one step away from the peak, nascent soul cultivator. Because of the evil warding sect's evil techniques, they specialize in devouring primordial spirits to cultivate. Very few people dare to mess with them. Devouring primordial spirit. Lin, he had a strange expression. Should I tell you that I devoured the heaven-devouring crocodile's primordial spirit? But after listening to Xian Ijia's words, Lin Yi recalled that when his primordial spirit was just projected into the mortal world, he was chased by someone from the sect of warding off evil. After he failed, another one came. Could it be that these two people were exposed? Thinking about it, Lin Yi didn't really care. So what if he was exposed? Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid. It was just a warding off evil sect, doing all sorts of evil things all the time. Lin Yi didn't really care about them. In just a few words, the four-winged black eagle flew above Lin Yi's head. It flapped its wings and hovered for a while. Then, the old man who looked like Yin Chuncheng jumped down easily. As the leader of the Green Cloud sect, Xian Ijia immediately cupped his fists and said, I am the new leader of the Green Cloud sect. Are you Senior Yin Chuncheng from the evil warding sect? I am Yin Chuncheng. Who are you? How dare you call yourself the leader? Where is Chunjiu? Yin Chuncheng had no intention of hiding his identity, but from his words, it seemed that he was completely unaware of the recent changes in Jadian sect. Otherwise, he would not have asked Chunjiu. The former Supreme Elder Chunjiu betrayed the sect and has already... Xian Ijia was about to answer, but was shocked by a sudden shout. Junior, hand over your life. Yin Chuncheng suddenly yelled and interrupted Xian Ijia. At the same time, he attacked Lin Yi. After all, he was an expert at the peak of the late nascent soul realm. Xian Ijia and Hong Zijuan did not have any time to react to his sudden attack. If Yin Chuncheng's target was the two of them, they would not even be able to take one hit. However, Lin Yi wasn't Xian Ijia, nor was he someone Hong Zijuan could compare to. When he thought about how this old man Yin Chuncheng was related to the two kids who were after him in the common world, Lin Yi raised his guard. Yin Chuncheng's attack was indeed fast, but Lin Yi's reaction was even faster. With a thought, 3 consciousness whirlpools appeared around Yin Chuncheng in a triangular formation, surrounding him. Lin Yi's consciousness whirlpool had already surpassed the Tai Shi primordial spirit in terms of power. It had just formed, and it had a huge tearing effect on Yin Chuncheng's primordial spirit. Yin Chuncheng was caught off guard and suffered a huge loss. As he screamed, his body shook violently. His attack just now had completely missed. Xian Ijia and Hong Zijuan broke out in a cold sweat. They instinctively wanted to stand in front of Lin Yi to protect him. However, Lin Yi did not even blink and easily resolved Yin Chinching's attack. The two were amazed. The reason why Lin Yi didn't use the soul hook hand was because he wanted to find out what was going on. Why did this Yin Chinching think he was Lin Yi and attack him the moment he saw him? Don't be nervous. He's just a cultivator at the peak of the late nascent soul realm. It's no big deal. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said to Xian Yijia and Hong Zijuan nonchalantly, the consciousness whirlpool was a continuous attack that directly affected the primordial spirit. Lin Yi estimated that in a few breaths' time, Yin Chencheng would completely lose the ability to resist. His primordial spirit would also weaken. As for Lin Yi's questioning, his ability to resist would naturally be at its lowest. However, what surprised Lin Yi was that Yin Chencheng only screamed at the beginning. Then there was a black light that flashed across his body, and the three consciousness whirlpools that Lin Yi sent out disappeared. Junior, you really have some skills. No wonder my good grandson died in your hands. Yin Chencheng panted heavily a few times, then stared coldly at Lin Yi and said, from the alertness in his eyes, it could be seen that Yin Chencheng was quite fearful of Lin Yi's methods. However, Yin Chencheng didn't expect that Lin Yi was also very shocked. Although the consciousness whirlpool was only a small trick, it was the first time that Lin Yi used it after completely mastering it. How could it fail just like that? Previously, when he was only at the small success level, he could already use it to easily suppress the sea crab. In particular, the black light that flashed across Yin Chencheng's body made Lin Yi even more fearful. This was because even Lin Yi's consciousness could not capture the shape of that black light. If he forcefully approached it, he felt like his consciousness was being melted. This made Lin Yi suspect that if he used the soul hook palm, would it be the same? Old man, who's your grandson? If he's some nameless person, then there's no need to say anything. Lin Yi said calmly. Even though he was fearful, he would never let this old man know. Yin Chencheng snorted and said, do you still want to quibble? No matter what you say, this old man's grandson died in your hands. That is definitely not wrong. There are too many trash that have died in my hands. Who knows which pile of trash your grandson is? Lin Yi casually said, but in his heart, he was analyzing the meaning behind Yin Chencheng's words. It seemed like this evil warding sect had some kind of evil method to know who their disciples died to. As expected, Yin Chencheng immediately answered Lin Yi's question. Junior, don't you know our evil warding sect's blood soul mark? Since you dared to kill this old man's grandson, even if you run to the ends of the earth, you will not be able to escape the blood soul mark. If this old man didn't just come out of seclusion, you wouldn't be able to live for so long. Lin Yi suddenly understood. So this was what was going on. It seemed like this blood soul curse would leave a blood soul mark on the killer when the evil warding sect's disciple died. This would lead the sect to the killer. However, this method should only be used by a small number of disciples. Otherwise, Yin Chencheng would not only say that Lin Yi killed his grandson. For the latest news of the Schoolbell's new book, please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman's Second Generation, and WeChat account Urine22. All kinds of activities will be held regularly. Autographed books will be sent nonstop. Chapter 5502. No, Lin Yi suddenly realized that his thinking was too simple. This blood soul imprint was most likely directly imprinted on his primordial spirit. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's current primordial spirit state, how could there be any imprint left? Not only that, Lin Yi had checked many times and didn't find anything wrong with the soul. Clearly, this blood soul mark was very well hidden. Even with Lin Yi's powerful soul, he couldn't find it. I don't know about the blood soul mark. If it's your evil warding sect, Isn't it famous for the evil warding sword skill? Your grandson was adopted, right? Linny thought quickly, but he was just talking nonsense. However, Yin Chunchung probably didn't know what the evil warding sword skill was. Otherwise, he would definitely be furious. Evil warding sword skill? Is it very strong? Junior, don't even think about changing the topic. My grandson is naturally my biological son. Today, I will make you accompany my grandson in death. Yin Chunchung roared and prepared to attack again. Although he was a bit afraid of Lin Yi's methods, Yin Chunchung also understood that Lin Yi was only a soul and used a soul attack. Against any sect, this was enough to be invincible. However, their evil warding sect was a sect that specialized in dealing with souls. Taking a closer look, wasn't Lin Yi's Yuan Shen the best nourishment for him? Yin Chunchung originally wanted to take revenge for his grandson, Yin Jiping, but now he realized that taking down Lin Yi was also very beneficial to him. This time, Yin Chunchung went into seclusion in order to break through to the peak of nascent soul. Unfortunately, he failed at the last moment. After he came out, he discovered that his grandson was dead and that the blood soul mark was moving at high speed. He immediately chased after him without a care for anything else. Unexpectedly, he discovered that while he was taking revenge for his grandson, he might also obtain an opportunity to break through. What could be better than this? Yin Chunchung raised his right hand, and the palm-sized piece of black wood in his hand suddenly expanded. It turned into a 1.5-meter long wooden staff. There was also a layer of faint black light on the staff. This made Lin Yi very wary. What exactly was this black light? Lin Yi's expression was extremely grave. The warning from the jade indicated that Yin Chunchung's wooden staff, or rather, the black light on the staff, was a dangerous item that could harm Lin Yi. It wasn't just his primordial spirit. If Lin Yi transformed into a primordial spirit, he would probably suffer the same fate. Moreover, at this point, Lin Yi could basically conclude that even if he used his ultimate weapon, the soul-reaping hand, he would most likely not be able to pose a threat to Yin Chunchung. Martial Granduncle, be careful! Xian Ijia was caught off guard the first time, but now he was on full alert. Seeing Yin Chunchung attack again, he yelled and rushed forward with his sword. Although he had just reached the nascent soul realm, Lin Yi was someone he truly respected and acknowledged. No matter what, he couldn't just watch Lin Yi get attacked. Hong Zijuan clenched his teeth and attacked as well. Although his strength was nothing in front of Yin Chunchung, there was no way he could back down now. Two streaks of sword light intertwined from the left and right, trying to stop Yin Chunchung's black wooden staff. However, before the two sides even intersected, Hong Zijuan's sword light was completely disrupted. He grunted and flew backwards. In front of Yin Chunchung, who was at the peak of the late stage of the nascent soul realm, Hong Zijuan didn't even have the right to attack. Xian Ijia, on the other hand, only managed to hold on for a second longer before he involuntarily took a few steps back. Lin Yi's face was as dark as water. He yelled, "Back off!" Then, he activated the soul hook palm. Although Lin Yi felt that the chances of success were not high, he still had to try. The result was as expected. The soul hook palm failed for the first time. Yin Chunchung's primordial spirit did not move at all. After the previous whirlpool, Yin Chunchung seemed to have strengthened his defense. When Lin Yi's soul hook palm landed, Yin Chunchung's body flashed with black light again. The soul hook palm was like a balloon landing on a nail, completely dispersing. Ha ha ha! Junior, your divine sense attack method is ineffective against this old man. Yin Chunchung laughed proudly, but in his heart, he was secretly shocked. This junior was indeed powerful. Even though he had prepared with all his strength, his movements had still been hindered by this attack. His own attack had also been interrupted. If he had not been prepared, he would have suffered greatly. Lin Yi snorted coldly and did not reply. Instead, he put his hands together and did three things at once. At the same time, he condensed his true Qi pill fire, and divine sense pill fire together. On the way back to the Green Cloud sect, Lin Yi had thought about this when he had nothing to do. Since the divine sense pill fire could not be used for alchemy, then he would use it to make alchemy bombs. The original true Qi pill fire was already very powerful, but it required too much time. It could not be used as a conventional weapon. However, after adding the divine sense pill fire, Lin Yi found that the speed of condensing was much faster. In other words, the power of the condensed alchemy bombs was much stronger. This much was more than 10 times, and it would increase as time passed. Yin Qinqing's attack was interrupted by the soul hook palm, but it only paused for a moment. Then, he once again handed the black wooden staff to Lin Yi. There was only a short moment left for Lin Yi. The 3-in-1 true Qi pill fire bomb naturally could not be condensed slowly. Lin Yi tapped his feet lightly, and as his body flew back, he threw the small alchemy bomb in his palm. This was the first time the 3-in-1 alchemy bomb was used in actual combat. Lin Yi did not know what the result would be, so he did not have high hopes. He just wanted to block Yin Qinqing's black wooden staff and buy more time for himself. However, what surprised Lin Yi was that when this small alchemy bomb met the tip of the black wooden staff with lightning speed, it completely exploded. This was a directional explosion. All the explosive power was concentrated in the direction of the black wooden staff, which was Yin Qinqing's body. What is this? Yin Qinqing was shocked. His black wooden staff had a shocking heat and destructive power. If not for the protection of the true Qi on the black wooden staff, the black wooden staff might have been incinerated. Furthermore, the flames that erupted along the black wooden staff made Yin Qinqing feel slightly uneasy. He could only use all his strength to retreat, and at the same time, use all his strength to resist. In the end, he did not suffer too much damage. He just looked a little haggard. Lin Yi retreated 7 or 8 steps before stopping. He thought to himself that he was lucky. For the latest news about the Schoolbell's new book, please add the Fishman QQ God public account, Fishman2, and the WeChat public account Urine22. All kinds of activities are held regularly, and autographed books are sent non-stop. Chapter 55:03. Fortunately, with the addition of the divine sense alchemic fire, Lin Yi was able to exert a little influence on the alchemic fire bomb. It formed a directional explosion and gathered all the power together to force Yin Qinqing back. If this alchemic fire bomb was a little bigger, Lin Yi might not be able to control it. In other words, a more powerful alchemic fire bomb might not have the same effect. It might even hurt him. "Grandmaster, are you okay?" Although Xian Ijia was pushed back, he was not injured. After he stabilized himself, he immediately came to Lin Yi's side and asked with concern. Lin Yi did not bother to look at Xian Ijia. He stared at Yin Qinqing and said, "You and Hong Zijuan leave immediately. Otherwise, you will distract me." "Yes, Grandmaster." Xian Ijia hesitated for a while, but immediately nodded in agreement. This was also because he had confidence in Lin Yi. He felt that he would only be a burden if he stayed. "You have to be careful. If you really can't do it, retreat into the sect." After saying that, Xian Ijia quickly retreated into the Green Cloud sect with Hong Zijuan. Then he watched the situation on Lin Yi's side from afar. "Junior, you do have some tricks up your sleeve. I really underestimated you. In that case, to show my respect, I will be more serious." Yin Qinqing's face was ferocious. He had lost to Lin Yi time and time again. Yin Chuncheng was obviously angry. Linny laughed. Just get serious and die faster. You're already so old, and I've shown you mercy a few times already. You still have the nerve to talk nonsense in front of me. Both of them were not willing to be at a disadvantage in their words. They were also secretly accumulating power. Linny could only rely on this 3-in-1 super alchemic firebomb. Although it was not easy to control the bigger it was, if he wanted to kill Yin Chuncheng, he could only desperately increase its power. Of course, Lin Yi still had a trump card, the 5 elements murderous aura. However, with his primordial spirit's great perfection foundation establishment ability, it was hard to say if the 5 elements murderous aura could cause fatal damage to Yin Chuncheng. Junior, do you only know how to talk? Hurry up and accept your death. Yin Chuncheng sneered. Then he waved his right sleeve, creating a powerful suction force. This was the evil warding sex cultivation technique that targeted the soul. Previously, Yin Chuncheng had indeed underestimated Lin Yi. Even though he suffered some losses in Lin Yi's hands, he still didn't take him seriously. Only now did Yin Chuncheng finally show his true power. Although Lin Yi already knew that the evil warding sect was going to fight, he still couldn't defend himself. His Yuan Shin didn't have much resistance against Yin Chuncheng, who was at the peak of late-stage nascent soul realm. However, Lin Yi didn't panic. The 3-in-1 pill firebomb couldn't hit anyone if it was far away. Since Yin Chuncheng came to him, Lin Yi didn't mind giving him a big gift. When he was 3 meters away, Lin Yi threw the 3-in-1 pill firebomb. With the inertia of the pulling force and Lin Yi's own power, the 3-in-1 pill firebomb instantly appeared in front of Yin Chuncheng. Yin Chuncheng had a mocking smile. Do you think I will fall for the same thing again? As he spoke, the pulling force in Yin Chuncheng's sleeve suddenly reversed and became a powerful repulsive force that pushed Lin Yi and the 3-in-1 pill firebomb away. If the 3-in-1 pill firebomb didn't have the spiritual sense pill fire, then perhaps this cultivation method that targeted the Yuan Shen wouldn't be able to affect it. However, with the spiritual sense pill fire, whether it was the pulling force or the repulsive force, it was no different from Lin Yi's Yuan Shen. Yin Chuncheng had already noticed that Lin Yi was forming the 3-in-1 pill firebomb. Yin Chuncheng was indeed guarding against this move from Lin Yi. He pulled Lin Yi's Yuan Shen over so that Lin Yi would fall into the trap. The truth was that this plan went very smoothly. Of course, this was Yin Chuncheng's idea. A mocking smile appeared on Lin Yi's face as he said faintly, "I think you'll really suffer a second time." As he spoke, the 3-in-1 pill firebomb exploded. This time, although Lin Yi couldn't control the direction of the explosion, he could control the time of the explosion. Since he had already seen this move from the evil warding sect, how could Lin Yi not have a countermeasure? It would be best if he could send the bomb over smoothly. If that didn't work, he could just detonate it when he got close. Now, he was going to detonate it. While Yin Chuncheng used the repulsive force to send Lin Yi away, Lin Yi also retreated with all his might. He flew out of the range of the pill firebomb with lightning speed. Unfortunately, the power this time was a little weaker. Although there was a huge pit in the ground, Yin Chuncheng managed to escape from the edge of the pit at the last moment. Damn, Junior. I will definitely cut you into pieces. Yin Chuncheng was really mad. He thought that everything was under his control, but who knew that it wasn't the case at all? Every step he took seemed to have been calculated by Lin Yi. Casually extinguishing the sparks on his clothes and hair, Yin Chuncheng shook his left sleeve, and the 3 blood-colored wolves expanded in the wind. When they came out of his sleeve, they were only the size of 3 fingernails, but when they landed on the ground, they were as thick as calves. Blood spirit wolves. Lin Yi narrowed his eyes, and his expression became serious. When he had just arrived in the mortal world, he had seen the blood spirit cats of the evil warding sect. He knew that these vicious creatures specialized in dealing with the Yuan spirit. Although Lin Yi also had a pill fire that could restrain them, the problem was that there was Yin Chuncheng next to him. Furthermore, these 3 blood spirit wolves were not something that 2 Bratz blood spirit cats could compare to. At least you know your stuff. Dying to the mouths of this old man's blood spirit, wolves, isn't an injustice. Yin Chuncheng sneered. Then he commanded the 3 blood spirit wolves to attack together, and he once again used the Yuan spirit pulling technique to restrict Lin Yi's mobility. With a thought, Lin Yi produced 3 divine sense pill fires, which went to meet the 3 blood spirit wolves. However, these 3 blood spirit wolves were indeed not ordinary. They advanced and retreated in an orderly manner, and their speed was as fast as lightning. They easily dodged the attack of Lin Yi's pill fire, seeing Yin Chuncheng's sinister old face getting closer and closer. And this old man even raised the black wooden staff in his hand. Lin Yi's expression was calm. The 5 elemental killing aura turned into a flood dragon that roared and charged at Yin Chuncheng at such a close distance. And with Yin Chuncheng actively pulling Lin Yi over, he never thought that he would suddenly be attacked by Lin Yi. For the latest news about the Schoolbell's new book, please add the Fishman QQ Gods official account, Fishman2, and the WeChat official account, Urine22. All kinds of activities are held regularly, and autographed books are sent nonstop. Chapter 5504. The most important thing was that Lin Yi had used the core firebomb twice, which made Yin Chuncheng think that it was Lin Yi's strongest attack. Since Lin Yi had just used a core firebomb, it was obvious that he was at his weakest. Therefore, he was hit by Lin Yi's 5 elements killing aura. At the same time, after the 3 blood spirit wolves avoided Lin Yi's core firebomb, they pounced at Lin Yi from different angles. They opened their mouths and bit at Lin Yi's primordial spirit. Lin Yi did not care about these 3 blood spirit wolves at all. He did not care if the 3 core fires could stop these blood spirit wolves, because he was a primordial spirit. That's right, primordial spirits were the best food for blood spirit wolves, but Lin Yi's primordial spirit was different. He had learned how to condense the core firebomb. Now, as long as Lin Yi wanted to, his entire primordial spirit could turn into a ball of core fire at any time. Therefore, these 3 blood spirit wolves were destined to have 3 tragedies. When they bit Lin Yi's body surged with core fire. This was definitely the natural enemy of primordial spirits like the blood spirit wolves, and it was the most invincible kind of natural enemy. They did not even have time to howl before the 3 blood spirit wolves were completely annihilated. Yin Chuncheng spat out a mouthful of blood. He had already been injured quite badly by the killing intent of the 5 elements, because he had been caught off guard. Now that the 3 blood spirit wolves had been killed, his injuries were even worse. Even his spirit was instantly weakened. "Old man, are you serious? Do you want to die faster? What a waste of time." Lin Yi continued to mock Yin Chuncheng, but his hands did not stop. The frenzied fire 8 trigrams palm landed on Yin Chuncheng's face. It was a pity that the strength of Lin Yi's primordial spirit was only at the peak of the foundation stage. If he was facing a peak of the late Jedon stage, whether it was the murderous spirit of the 5 elements or the raging fire 8 trigrams palm, it could pose a fatal threat. But now he was facing a cultivator at the peak of the late Yuanying stage. The power of these killing moves seemed too weak. If it wasn't for the backlash from the blood spirit wolf that caused Yin Chuncheng to become temporarily stiff, Lin Yi wouldn't have been able to use the Frenzy 8 trigram palm on his face so easily. Although it couldn't kill Yin Chuncheng, it still made him dizzy. Divine knowledge whirlpool. Lin Yi did not give up and use the divine knowledge whirlpool again. To deal with an enemy at the Yuanying stage, he still had to rely on his divine knowledge. It was a pity that the black light on Yin Qinqing's body once again canceled out the divine knowledge whirlpool. Lin Yi did not know whether it was Yin Qinqing's technique or some defensive treasure. Yin Qinqing's body was cold, and he was extremely afraid. Lin Yi clearly only had the strength of the peak of the foundation stage, but from start to finish, whether it was fighting or scheming, he restrained Yin Qinqing completely. Now, he easily killed 3 blood spirit wolves and made Yin Qinqing spit out blood. If Yin Qinqing was not afraid, then he was really stupid. After the backlash from the blood spirit wolf was over, Yin Qinqing did not say anything and turned to leave. Although Lin Yi's attack did not cause any fatal damage, Yin Qinqing did not know if Lin Yi had any other tricks up his sleeves. Facing Lin Yi's endless attacks, Yin Qinqing felt that he had no chance of winning. Especially the Dan firebomb from before. It could definitely threaten Yin Qinqing's life. It was better to leave while he still had the ability to. Old man Yin, are you serious? You want to die faster? Why are you leaving just like that? Lin Yi shouted, but he was helpless. Yin Qinqing was the only person that Lin Yi couldn't do anything to after coming to the immemorial small underworld. Due to the difference in levels, Yin Qinqing's martial arts could not kill him, and his divine sense attacks were completely nullified by something on Yin Qinqing's body. This really gave Lin Yi a headache. Junior, wait and see. I will definitely come back. Don't forget that you still have the blood soul mark on you. Yin Qinqing jumped onto his 4-winged black eagle and flew into the sky. After he felt safe, he said something that was not very harsh and left the Green Cloud sect in a hurry. Seeing Yin Qinqing turn into a black dot and fly away again, Lin Yi's eyes slowly turned cold. This sect of warding off evil was really strange. If he could not think of a way, Lin Yi would be quite passive. Not only would the Green Cloud sect be in trouble during the immemorial grand meeting, when the center appeared, if the sect of warding off evil joined forces with the center, Lin Yi's advantage would be gone, and the entire immemorial small underworld would completely collapse. Perhaps it is time to create more peak, nascent soul cultivators. Lin Yi murmured. Currently, it seemed like this was the only way. Yin Qinqing was not afraid of divine sense attacks, but he was afraid of physical attacks. Lin Yi's primordial spirit was restrained by Yin Qinqing, but if it was Bing Wuqing, it would not be difficult to beat Yin Qinqing up, right? Fortunately, Lin Yi did not lack nascent soul golden pills. As long as he reached the nascent soul stage, he could use elixirs to create a nascent soul perfected expert. However, it seemed like the only people that Lin Yi could trust now were Bing Wuqing and Xian Yijia. Yi Qingcheng and Chu Yuntian were still lacking. Another point was that Lin Yi really had to think carefully about how to break through the limit of foundation perfected. If Lin Yi was a primordial spirit of Golden Core perfected, the 5 elements killing aura would be enough to deal with Yin Qinqing. Granduncle, are you all right? Seeing Yin Qinqing retreat, Xian Yijia quickly came to Lin Yi and asked with concern. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "Of course I'm all right. Didn't you see that old man Yin Qinqing was the one who lost?" Indeed, as expected, Granduncle is much more powerful. I was ready to activate the Green Cloud Sword formation, but I didn't expect Granduncle to defeat Yin Qinqing in just a few moves. Xian Yijia said excitedly. The Green Cloud Sword formation was the protective formation of the Green Cloud sect in the North Island. It required all the disciples to participate in it, and it could only be activated when the enemy attacked the sect. Therefore, Xian Yijia told Lin Yi to hurry back to the sect if he could not win. However, he didn't expect Lin Yi to be so ferocious and defeat Yin Chuncheng in just a few moves. Even Xian Yijie, who was a hardcore supporter of Lin Yi, felt that it would be great if he could not defeat Yin Chuncheng in the beginning. Lin Yi smiled bitterly in his heart. He knew the truth best. On the surface, it seemed that he had defeated Yin Chuncheng easily, but in fact, Lin Yi had used all his strength. Even so, Yin Chuncheng retreated without any serious injuries. Speaking of which, this was quite a failure. For the latest news of the Campus Belle's new book, please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and the WeChat official Urine22. All kinds of activities are held regularly, and autographed books are sent continuously. Chapter 55:05. Let's not talk about this anymore. The Archean Grand Meeting is about to begin. Are you ready? When are you leaving? Lin Yi waved his hand and skipped the topic of Yin Chuncheng. Instead, he asked about the Archean Grand Meeting. After the Archean Grand Meeting, Lin Yi might not have the time to return to the Green Cloud sect in the North Island. The Green Cloud sect was a big threat that had to be eliminated as soon as possible. Therefore, before leaving, Lin Yi had to settle the sect's affairs. Xian Yijie replied respectfully, "Granduncle, we were originally scheduled to depart 3 days later. Now that you're back, it's up to you. Because the preliminary preparations are done, there's no problem for us to depart immediately." Xian Yijie replied respectfully. Lin Yi was quite satisfied with Xian Yijie's ability to handle affairs. He nodded with a smile and said, "Very well, but we don't have to rush. Let's follow the scheduled itinerary. Let's have a private chat later." "Yes, Granduncle." Xian Yijie did not have any doubts. Anyway, if Lin Yi looked for him alone, it would most likely be a good thing. The remaining possibility was that Lin Yi would ask him to do some secret things, and he would get some benefits in the end. Lin Yi said no more. Accompanied by Xian Yijie and Hong Zijuan, they returned to the residence that Xian Yijie had prepared for Lin Yi. Then, Hong Zijuan left tactfully. "Sit down and talk." Lin Yi pointed at the chair casually and asked Xian Yijie to sit down. Then, he sat on the seat of honor. Xian Yijie thanked him respectfully and sat down immediately. However, his posture was not casual at all. He only put half of his buttocks on one side and maintained the posture of getting up at any time. "You don't have to be nervous. The Green Cloud sect has developed quite well under your management. It seems that you're a qualified sect leader. I didn't misjudge you." Lin Yi praised Xian Yijie, which made Xian Yijie very excited. "Thank you for your compliment, Grand Master. I haven't done enough. I'll work harder to contribute to the development of Green Cloud sect in the future." Xian Yijie stood up immediately, bowed, and cupped his fists to show his determination. Lin Yi was also helpless. With his current status in Green Cloud sect in the North Island, it was not a problem for Xian Yijie to be so cautious. However, Lin Yi himself was not used to it. "Sit down and talk." Lin Yi raised his hand and pressed it down. Then he felt that there was no need for him to say anything more. He directly took out 6 nascent soul golden elixirs and handed them to Xian Yijie, saying, "These nascent soul golden elixirs are yours. You should take advantage of these days to improve your strength. When the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting comes, you'll have more strength and continue to improve the ranking of the Blue Cloud sect in the North Island." Six nascent soul stage golden cores. Xian Yijie was really shocked. He expected that he might get some benefits from Lin Yi, but he didn't expect it to be such a huge benefit. 6 nascent soul golden elixirs were enough to raise his strength to nascent soul full cycle, and there wouldn't be any problems. After all, the golden elixirs that Lin Yi took out were all of the highest quality. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "You're the leader of Green Cloud sect. You can't be weaker than that old man just now. If everything goes well, you'll be able to take revenge on him at the Archaeozoic Grand Meeting." "Thank you for your guidance, Grand Master." Xianijia then woke up from his excitement and quickly bowed to Lin Yi to express his gratitude. As for people like Yin Chuncheng, Xianijia was full of confidence now. Just now, he was defeated by Yin Chuncheng and failed to protect Lin Yi, which made Xianijia very upset. He didn't expect to have the chance to hold his head high so soon. If they were at the same level, Xianijia was confident that he wouldn't lose to Yin Chuncheng. After all, the most powerful skill of the evil warding sect was the evil skill that targeted the primordial spirit, while the skills of the Blue Cloud sect in the North Island had always been upright. They weren't afraid of opponents like the evil warding sect. Moreover, Lin Yi directly took out 6 nascent soul golden cores. When Xianijia reached the full completion of nascent soul, it wouldn't be a problem for him to kill Yin Chuncheng in a second. You should also pay attention to yourself. Don't be too impatient to improve. Take it step by step, steadily and surely. Lin Yi thought for a while, and still reminded Xianijia. After all, Xianijia's talent was far from that of a genius like Bing Wuqing. After breaking through a level, if one continued to take nascent soul golden cores to break through without properly stabilizing it, although one could still level up successfully, it would overdraft one's future potential. Unless Xianijia was as talented as Bing Wuqing or Lung Lung, Lin Yi didn't recommend him to break through continuously. Xianijia said, "Gratefully, thank you for your advice, Grand Master. I understand. Don't worry, I'll definitely take nascent soul golden cores to break through after breaking through and stabilizing my strength. I understand the saying, haste makes waste." "That's great. For the remaining 3 days, you can hand over the sex affairs to Hong Zijuan. Go into closed-door cultivation and see what kind of breakthrough you can achieve. When the time comes, let everyone see that the head of the Green Cloud sect in the North Island is an expert who doesn't lose to anyone." Lin Yi encouraged Xianijia for a while and sent him back to closed-door cultivation. After Xianijia left, Lin Yi started to recall the process of the battle with Yin Chuncheng. Since he couldn't defeat Yin Chuncheng this time, he had to learn from the experience. In this way, he would have a greater chance of winning in the next battle. After thinking about it carefully, Lin Yi couldn't help but slap his thigh. He thought to himself that he was so stupid. He clearly had that trick, but why didn't he think of it before? If he had used that trick, the battle wouldn't have been so difficult. He might have killed Yin Chuncheng instantly. He had to try it the next time he met him. Xianijia didn't ask for Lin Yi's help when he was in closed-door cultivation. Now that he had nothing to do, Lin Yi started cultivating again. He wanted to get rid of those malignant tumors of the divine sense as soon as possible so that they wouldn't explode like a bomb at any time. 3 days passed in a flash. Xianijia and Lin Yi came out of closed-door cultivation at the same time, ready to go to the primordial mountains where the primordial grand meeting was held. "Grand Master, the disciples are ready. We can go now." Xianijia came to Lin Yi's door early in the morning and said respectfully, "Let's go then." Lin Yi came out and nodded to Xianijia. He looked at Xianijia and said, "Not bad. You're already at the peak of the middle stage of nascent soul realm. Although it's still a little fast, your aura is very stable. There aren't any side effects of breaking through too quickly. It's all thanks to Grand Master's training." Xianijia bowed, even more respectfully. His face was full of gratitude. A year ago, He was just a cultivator in the early stage of Gold Core realm. He brought a group of little guys to the secular world to gain experience. If he hadn't met Lin Yi, he probably wouldn't have made much progress now. For the latest news of the Schoolbell's new book, please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and WeChat official Urine22. All kinds of activities are held regularly. Autographed books are sent nonstop. Chapter 55:06. But now, the peak of the intermediate stage of the original level. In less than a few days, he would reach the peak of the original level and stand at the peak of the archaic underworld. All of this was like a dream. It was hard to believe. However, Xian Ijia had experienced all of this. All of this was brought to him by Lin Yi. Lin Yi smiled. Without your hard work, you wouldn't be who you are today. All right, let's go. When we arrive at the archaic mountains, you can continue to break through. Along the way, don't consume the golden elixir of the original level. Focus on stabilizing your strength. Actually, Lin Yi already had a way to deal with Yin Chuncheng. He didn't care if Xian Ijia could defeat Yin Chuncheng. However, the central forces of the archaic underworld were getting stronger and stronger. It was necessary for Xian Ijia to reach the peak of the original level as soon as possible. The disciples who followed Lin Yi and Xian Ijia to the archaic grand meeting were all ready. When Lin Yi and Xian Ijia arrived, they got on their flying spiritual beasts and flew into the sky. Hung Zijuan didn't follow them. He stayed to guard the sect. After all, he was once a sect leader. He could rest assured if he stayed at home. The archaic mountains was located at the core of the archaic underworld. The natural treasures provided for more than 80% of the needs of the archaic underworld. To all the sects and clans in the archaic underworld, this was a sacred place for cultivation. However, there wasn't a single sect or clan in the archaic mountains. It wasn't that nobody wanted to occupy this treasury. It was that all the sects and clans in the archaic underworld wouldn't allow anyone to occupy the archaic mountains alone. Otherwise, they would attack together. After all, whoever occupied the archaic mountains was equivalent to grabbing the lifeline of the entire archaic underworld. Therefore, the town of ruins in the archaic mountains was usually uninhabited. It was like a ruin. Only when the archaic grand meeting was held would it be like a bustling city. The archaic grand meeting was initiated by the 4 sects and clans. Grand Master, you know the 4 sects and clans, right? Xian Ijia followed beside Lin Yi and slowly walked into the ruined town. He began to introduce the primeval convention to Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded his head and said, "I've heard a little about it. As the times change, powerful sects will weaken and weak clans will rise. The current 4 great sects and clans should be the Qianquan sect, the 5 Elements sect, the Heaven Awakening faction, and the Shangguan clan, right?" That's right. Right now, the 4 great sects and clans occupy the 4 directions of the primordial mountain range. Although they don't have the intention of monopolizing the primordial mountain range, everyone knows that the closer one is to the primordial mountain range, the more benefits one can obtain. If there are no unforeseen events, it is very difficult for the 4 great sects and clans to change their positions. Xian Ijia wanted the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island to be one of the top 4 sections. Even if the headquarters of the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island were not moved here, they should at least set up a branch near the primordial mountains. From Xian Ijia's point of view, this was definitely not an impossible goal. On the contrary, it was the best opportunity for the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island, because the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island had Lin Yi. Although Lin Yi did not say it clearly, Xian Ijia was not stupid. Egia might have believed that Lin Yi was the primordial spirit left by a senior of the sect in the primordial era. But as time went by, Egia was 100% sure that Lin Yi was not from the small Jianghu of the primordial era. However, the relationship between Lin Yi and the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island must be true. Because of this, Egia privately guessed that Lin Yi would not stay in the small Jianghu of the primordial era. This might be the only chance for him to rely on Lin Yi. As long as the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island could be promoted to the top 4, Egia would also be at the peak of the nascent soul realm. The disciples of the Blue Cloud sect would also have a complete set of cultivation methods and cultivation resources, and the Blue Cloud sect would really usher in the opportunity to take off. After hearing Egia's words, Lin Yi could not help but nod secretly. The so-called change was just like the Thousand Blades sect, where the invincible primordial era was. At that time, the Thousand Blades sect was in the limelight because of the invincible primordial era. However, after the invincible primordial era left, the Thousand Blades sect quickly declined. Now, it did not even have a place in the top 10 families. Thinking of the invincible primordial era, Lin Yi thought of Ling Tianyu. He did not know what would happen after he and the invincible primordial era returned. Would they revive the Thousand Blades sect, or would they continue to be depressed? I've heard about the 4 major sects and families. Who are the top 10 families? Lin Yi asked casually. He knew that the Blue Cloud sect was one of the top 10 families. There were also Bing Wuqing's Snow Sword sect and Duan Muyu's Leaf Spirit sect. He was not very clear about the others. Egia was not surprised that Lin Yi did not know. He immediately replied respectfully, in addition to our Blue Cloud sect in the North Island, among the top 10 families, there are Rising Sky sect, Snow Sword sect, Leaf Spirit sect, Evil Warding sect, Inyan sect, Six Directions sect, Xuanyu sect, Everyday sect, and Okuda family. Originally, the strength of the top 10 families and sects was about the same. But recently, there has been a big change in the archaic underworld. Maybe there will be a large-scale change in the archaic grand meeting this time. One of the people who caused such a big change in the archaic underworld was Lin Yi, who was always by Egia's side. Egia naturally knew about it, but he would not say it directly. Lin Yi nodded. Among the top 10 families, there were some familiar names, but there were also some unfamiliar ones. He did not know whether it was because of the decline of the Heavenly Island or because these unfamiliar sects had risen after the rise of the archaic underworld. However, the Okuda family caught Lin Yi's attention. They should be of the same lineage as the Okuda family on the Heavenly Island. Thinking that he was the honorary vice-captain of the Okuda Dam Warship, Lin Yi felt a sense of familiarity with the Okuda family. As for the Shangguan family, which was one of the 4 big families, Lin Yi had guessed that they might be related to Shanghai Tianhua by blood. After all, the most famous Shangguan on the Heavenly Island was the Shangguan family. Martial uncle, apart from the top 10 families and sects, there are also some powerful families and sects that have a high chance of being ranked in the top 10 families. For example, the Chu family you mentioned, the Xuanji sect, which is on the same side as our Blue Cloud sect, the Thousand Blade sect, which used to be glorious, the Tyrant Blade sect, which is quite powerful now, and so on. Egia's explanation was very detailed. After listening to it, Lin Yi had a general idea of the powers of the archaic underworld. While talking, the 2 of them had brought their disciples to the inn in ruined town. This was a place that would only be open for business during the archaic grand festival, so the decorations were quite luxurious. In fact, half of the entire ruined town belonged to this inn. That's right, the name of this inn was One Inn. For the latest news about the School Bell's new book, please add the Fishman's official QQ account, Fishman2, and his WeChat account, Urine22. All kinds of activities will be held regularly. Autograph books will be sent continuously. That you're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.